Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I call this meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. I'll read the land acknowledgement. As visitors on this land, the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury acknowledges that the land on which we gather today is traditional territory of Anishinaabeg Nation, which includes Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi Nation, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We recognize that the Huron, Wendat, Chippewa, and Haudenosaunee nations have walked on this territory over time. In times of great change, we recognize more than ever the importance of honoring Indigenous history and the culture, and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation, respect, and good health with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. Okay, moving right along, adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that the committee agenda dated September 23rd, 2025 be adopted as printed. Mover and second, please. Councillor Giordano and Councillor Dykey. All in favor? Okay. Carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest on the general nature? None. Any presentations or deputations? None, but I know we're going to have some when the items come up for the Civic Center. Okay, we have open forum. I have Mr. Glasky signed up for item 8.1 and 8.7. If you can come up, sir, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, and Council members. So I want to speak tonight about these two items. I've just for further enhancement on the one, which I'm going to go over first, which is regarding upon reviewing report FC 2005-5 dated September 23rd, which is on the meeting agenda for tonight regarding the Civic Center. So there's a lot to unpack here. Without confirmation to the following points, as a resident, taxpayer, municipal voter, I cannot support the recommendations or next steps as outlined in the report at this time. Some observations. In reviewing the report in detail, the decision matrix as outlined in Table 4 remains outstanding and potentially represents another estimated $2.7 million in potential savings. I need to see these outcomes and impacts on reducing the building costs, potential operating and carrying costs, the bottom line up front. I'd prefer to see that. Under the category of additional financial considerations, I want to see the predictability of revenues to offset costs materialized up front, such as grant funding or other funding opportunities as noted in the report, firmed up by staff to lower overall costs and lower the taxpayer burden prior to this project going to the open market. In Appendix A, Civic Center Financial Update, dated September 23rd, 25, in a softening economy with ongoing job losses and declining GDP, declining DCs, declining local building and permits, these proposed numbers remain substantive for the BWG taxpayer. Also delineated in revenues estimated versus expenditure total against net tax levy. I only see this net tax levy number growing year over year, resulting in increased carrying costs to operate the building, increased unaffordability, and increased property taxation. Thank you on that item.
Okay, thank you. And you have 8.7.
Yeah, for 8.7, I just need clarity from all of council to regarding the $40 million plus ask. To the best of my knowledge, back in 2009, Side Road 10 was in fact a budgeted item and carried forward to current day numbers, as I understand and I recall. So that's back to 2009. So I just don't understand the $26 million ask under that $40 million ask. Further to that, I appreciate what the town's attempting to do, but we are in declining times right now. So I question why council at this present time is investigating or gone out and actually, if I may put it this way, purchase property with declining situations here that are happening in our economy at the present time. So I just need to get further clarity on that, if you would please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glasky. And as you know, there's no back and forth with open forum, but when this item comes up, I'm sure it will be discussed. Thank you. Okay, next we have Mr. David Polera speaking to item 8.4, which is a three-way stop here on West Park. Go ahead, sir. If you can press the button, the front one.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks. First time. Good evening, council members. Thank you for hearing me today. To move things along efficiently, I've prepared a statement I will now read. My name is David Polera, and I've lived in Bradford since 2016. I'm writing as a representative of the community to express a concern about what I've been told has been recommended for the intersection at Huron Lane and West Park Drive, a raised intersection, which I believe is insufficient for this particular location. While a raised crosswalk might address the issue of speeding down West Park Drive, it does not address a second significant pain point for community residents at this intersection, an issue caused jointly by the Fieldcrest student drop-off on Huron and the existing crosswalk at Huron and West Park Drive. I live on McDonnell Crescent, which turns into Huron at the point where the crescent meets itself. Sometime last year, Fieldcrest decided to place an alternate drop-off point on this street. This drop-off point causes an abnormally high amount of traffic on Huron Lane every morning and every afternoon as parents from the community drop off and pick up their kids at the school. It should be noted this drop-off point did not exist when residents purchased their homes on this street, and the community was not asked whether we wanted this drop-off point at this location before the school unilaterally decided to create it. This is to say, residents of the street did not purchase their homes knowing we would have to deal with this level of traffic on the street twice a day. The number of people trying to turn left onto West Park after dropping off their kids at the alternate drop-off point causes a significant delay every morning and every afternoon because those on West Park don't have a stop sign and thus never have the right of way. The recently added crosswalk at Huron Lane and West Park compounds the problem. While the crosswalk is a definite improvement for pedestrians, it means that even if there aren't any cars driving down West Park, again, who would have the right of way if pedestrians were absent, those of us wishing to turn onto West Park from Huron Lane often still need to wait for pedestrians to cross before we can turn left, and often, by the time everyone has crossed, cars have appeared. Given the situation I've outlined, I would like the town to implement a three-way stop sign at the intersection of Huron Lane and West Park Drive. A three-way stop at that intersection would accomplish two goals. First, it would slow down traffic on West Park better than any speed hump or slow down sign in the middle of the road and help to address ongoing concerns about speeding on West Park. And second, it would make it easier for those of us who need to turn left onto West Park every morning and afternoon because a three-way stop would allow those of us turning from Huron to have a right-of-way. The existing crosswalk could and should remain in place, but by making that intersection a three-way stop, the need for a raised crosswalk would become optional, since cars would be required by law to stop for the stop signs and thus be at a standstill before the crosswalk is reached. As such, implementing two stop signs at this intersection would not only address both traffic concerns, speeding along West Park and turning onto West Park from Huron, but also represent a much more cost-effective solution relative to constructing a raised crosswalk. As a resident with 4 children, I want residential streets in Bradford that can be crossed safely. As a driver in Bradford, I want efficient roadways that move traffic effectively. I know I'm not alone in wanting these things for our community. And installing a three-way stop at the intersection of West Park and Huron is a logical, cost-effective solution that will increase safety and efficiency at that intersection. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Blair. We also acknowledge that we did receive your email through staff, and all members of council received it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I have Mr. Daniel Cyrus, also speaking to 8.4.
I actually hope it's hard to just.
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you for attending. All right, the next one I have is Mr. Morrison, Rick Morrison, and Paula Case. Please come up. It's also in regards to 8.4. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councilors, fellow citizens, my name is Rick Morrison. My wife is Paula Case. We live on Noble Drive in Bradford. We're here to speak of the intersection at Breeze Drive and Noble Drive. It's currently a one-stop sign T intersection where northbound traffic on Breeze has a stop sign. East and west on Noble Drive is uncontrolled. And what we've, Paul and I have lived on Noble Drive since 2012. And what we've found is drivers driving at a high rate of speed up Noble Drive. Where we live in Noble Drive, it's a crest of a hill. And with that speeding past that intersection, it makes it difficult for us to get into our driveway safely. Paula, you've been hit almost 4 times.
Well, it's happened about 4 times. So we back out of the driveway, the end of the driveway, but at that intersection, the road slopes down. So people are racing up Noble because there are no speed bumps, there's no stop sign, so everybody uses Noble. So they race from Northgate right up Noble Drive. So they fly up the hill. So you can't see them until they've flown up the hill. And by then, right, you're like kind of half in, half out of your driveway. So I've had 4 near misses. So
Also, that intersection has site obstructions. The corners at Breeze Drive and Noble at that T intersection have shrubbery and foliage, makes it difficult to see. And also on the first half of the month, when parking is permitted on the south side of the Breeze side of Noble Drive, it makes it extremely difficult to make a left or right turn onto Noble Drive due to that, due to the parking as well as the shrubbery. And then there's a speeding as well. We'd like to see a an all-way stop at that T intersection. I've been a police officer for 25 years in the region of York, and I spent 8 of those years in the Road Safety Bureau. And I can tell you that I've always found that intersection to be very dangerous. If it would be proactive on the town's part, if it were an all-way stop to help control the flow of traffic, to slow it down, and to make that intersection safe for other drivers, pedestrians,
Kids,
dog walkers.
walking home
There's
from school.
children and families all over that neighborhood. That would be made safer by a 3-way, an all-way stop sign at that intersection.
So I'm hoping we can be proactive rather than reactive until something terrible happens.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. And this item will be discussed on the agenda next during the night. Okay, Madam Clerk, I believe there were 2 submissions online. One was Mr. Plera's. We already dealt with that. If you can go over the other one, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I have a written submission for open forum from Nancy and Gord Young. We live on Sutherland Avenue. Our street is terrible for speeding and it is getting worse. We are close to 2 schools and even the young mums in the morning are traveling too quickly. I'm surprised that there has not been an accident or a death with the young ones walking to school. I'm requesting that we get speed bumps on this street before something happens. I've also spoken to Cheryldine, our counselor, and I've called the police at the first of the summer. Let us be proactive before something happens and then we have to deal with the aftermath of someone being injured. Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, thank you. All right, now moving to item 6, adoption of the minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of May 27, 2025 meeting be adopted as printed. Councillor Verkuyk, seconded by Councillor Dehaney. Any questions about the minutes or comments? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Correspondence, there's no items for correspondence. Getting right into business, 8.1. Civic Center pre-construction milestone, final design and cost updates, FC 2025-5. I believe we have a presentation, and I'm going to read the recommendation, and then we get into the presentation with our speakers. That report FC 2025 titled Civic Center pre-construction milestone, final design and cost updates be received for information, and that through separate resolutions or direction be provided to staff on the value engineering options identified in Table 4 of this report, and that staff be directed to proceed with the procurement process for construction of Civic Center project. Mover the seconder, please. Councillor Scott, Mayor Leduc. Okay, I'm going to invite Mr. Nelly and Mr. Foran to come up, and I believe we have reps from MTA here too.
Can we
Mr.
get a point of
German
order,
Nash?
please?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In regards to time, I would just like to allow us to just make some consideration of how long we spend on this subject, as there are other residents in the crowd looking for other agenda items. I know that this could probably go a little bit on, but if you wouldn't mind just keeping an eye on the time and set a measurable amount of time to discuss this. If we need to defer it, I would recommend that too. Thank you very much.
Okay, point noted. Thank you. And we also have Mr. Barr online joining us virtually. Okay, go ahead, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sandu. With us tonight we have Demerit Nash and Ronan Bauer, along with a couple of their colleagues in the back, to walk through a very brief presentation on just our final cost estimates, Class B, and obviously a minor cost matrix for you to make some decisions tonight that we can calculate quickly for you to give you a bottom line by the end of this conversation. That's the idea tonight. But with that, we'll leave it to Ronan to walk you through the quick presentation. We have a bit of a fly-through, which you'll see, which demonstrates the interior of the facility quite well. And I'll give you an idea of what you're looking at. And from there, we'll take questions.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Yeah, this presentation today is our kind of final phase of the design. It's the 30% contract documents, which we will present to you, as well as the costing, the final costing, before it goes to the next phase, if you choose to go for it, if you choose for it to go to the next phase. If we go to the next slide, just to kind of outline what we're going to present today, and we're going to be conscious of time, and we'll go through it fairly quickly. We're going to go through a quick animation. It's about a 2-minute animation. Then we're going to review the Class B costing, and then go through the decision matrix, which is very similar to the layout that we had in previous presentations. So if we don't mind, maybe starting off with the animation first, we'll let everyone kind of sit back and enjoy the views. We don't have any renders, but we thought the animation would help visualize the project quite nicely. Great. So that hopefully gave you a good idea of what the building looks like, the flow of it, some of the unique spaces that are in the building that include some of the admin spaces, but most importantly, a lot of the public amenities within the building and how you could transition through them. So that brings us to the second part of the presentation, the Class B costing. If we go to slide number 5, and maybe we could start there. So before we jump into this one, I just wanted to say that in mid-June, we completed the last phase of the project, bringing us to 30% contract documents. At this time, further design development, technical coordination, and incorporation of some of the feedback that we received from you has been accounted for in our documents. So the latest costing that was done, the Class B costing, reflects all that, and we use that to validate that we're, if we're within project budget. And very similar to last time, this summary over here is a very high level summary. It shows the components of the buildings and the costs associated with some of them. One of the things that it also shows are the escalation allowances. That's item G. So that the escalation allowance has been reduced due to the fact that we are a little bit closer to the construction date. So escalation has gone down. There are other items that have changed as well, but if we go to the next slide, that really compares Class C costing and Class B costing. This is where you're going to see some of the high level changes. So in summary, the hard cost has been reduced down to by about $5 million. And the reason for that has been a couple things. Escalation, as mentioned before, has caused the numbers to decrease. Design allowance as well has been reduced because we have developed the building further with more coordination, with a bit more certainty. The design allowance decreased, so that brought the cost down a little bit further. And we've implemented some of the value engineer items from our previous recommendations or decisions that were given to us. Other than that, the majority of the numbers here remain the same. There's a little bit of a increase in the FF&E, the furniture and equipment. That's due to some outdoor fixtures and equipment and furnishings, and overall I believe the taxes, the last line item has been reduced as well. So overall, the project cost reduction, we managed to get just under $5 million compared to our Class C costing back in February 28. So that's a high level summary. If we go to the next slide, and one more slide over. As we showed last time, we have a decision matrix that essentially outlines some potential further cost savings if you choose to proceed with them. We'll walk you through each one of them and explain the implications of each. But one thing I wanted to note before we kind of dive into the weeds over here, the numbers. These are numbers that we kind of extracted from the cost estimate and interpolated. If this project does proceed to a design builder team may come up with other suggestions, and these numbers may be quite different than what we're presenting here right now. Design builder teams have many ways that they work with their suppliers and their trades to provide further cost savings or creativity in the design that may have not been shown in this decision matrix. But this is some of the items that we managed to identify and bring up to your attention as possible cost saving items. So to begin with, we could start off with item 1.1, which is the change in building envelope. So there is a potential for further cost savings of just under 1 million if we replace the fiberglass, or sorry, the fiber cement panels on the exterior with metal panels. And if we go to the next slide, this slide shows the comparison between the two. The slide that you see on the left-hand side shows the building that is currently designed and clad with the current fiber cement. And the image on the right is what the building could potentially look like with a corrugated metal panel, which would result in further cost savings. There is one thing to note is that fiber cement is low carbon material, so it's a bit more sustainable than metal panels. But in terms of durability and life expectancy and warranty, they are comparable to one another. The only difference is the cost. So that's item 1.1 for building envelope. If we go back, actually, if we go to the next slide, the next item is 1.2, which is the auditorium back of house storage. So what you see over here, this is the second level of the theater space. And the highlighted area in blue that you see on the right is a proposed space, back of house space on the second level of the theater. Currently, this space is a double height space. We thought it would be great to utilize that space for additional storage or any back of house material that's needed. And the cost of building that is about $100,000. So currently that is in the design, and if there's a desire to value engineer it or remove it, that will save approximately $100,000. So that's item 1.2. The next item, 1.3, if we go to the next slide, is the folding glass partitions. So this item is located on floor number 3. It is the two spaces that are adjacent to the open seating area that you see on the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, you see the sitting benches. Just beyond that is a meeting room with operable glass partitions, and on the left-hand side is a similar room with operable glass partitions. Those glass partitions could open up completely in order to create a continuous space. Now, the cost of those glass partitions is around $230,000. If we were to eliminate that to just fix glass partitions, that means you still get the same image that you would on the left. However, you would not get the flexibility of opening up that space completely into one larger space. So there is obviously some cost savings with that functionality that has some implications on functionality. That's something to weigh out. So that's item 1.3. The next item, if we go to the next slide.
Mr. Bauer?
Yes.
So if I can, I would stop you there. What I was thinking is instead of getting ahead on all these items,
Sure.
because my understanding is that committee would have to make a decision on each one of them. As we go through them, we have a little bit of a discussion, and then we get a recommendation and then move forward, rather than that we would have to wait for the questions at the end and then come back. It'll be too much time consuming. Okay, so with that, we have 1.1, which is talking about change building envelope. Councillor Verkuyk.
Yeah, I definitely would be a proponent of doing the aluminum siding based on the cost. Just on the ground floor, which we can't really see in that picture, it's mostly glass window. But will there be aluminum siding right at the ground floor, or is the ground floor going to be something more resilient?
Yeah, the ground floor would be a more durable surface, such as granite or something that is not metal, that wouldn't deteriorate with the weather, salt, snow, and all that. So we have accounted for that in the costing.
Okay, Councillor Daiki?
Just to get to the chase, I think it's for this project. I think it's important to that we vote. Are we for this or are we against this at these economic times? Because we can go through all these lists, and if we come to the end and we decide that we can't do it or can't afford it, then why spend the time at this? Because this is a big project. The economy is up in the air, and this makes me very nervous with all the projects we need to do. I don't want to go into a long list of it, but roads and the whole 9 yards. I just wondered. I would like to see us handle it a little differently. Have a vote, yes or no, and then take it from there. But that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Daiki. Through previous recommendations and resolutions, council directed staff to come up with some numbers, and that's what we're looking at it. I say we stick to this, and then when we do deal with the main recommendation, then we can discuss any other recommendations if you're putting any amendment. Councillor Ferragini.
Thank you. Based on the items that we're looking at in the first, in the architectural portion, I'm okay with changing the building envelope. I see the savings there. That makes sense to me. I do have questions about, obviously I want to shave off whatever we possibly can on this building, but my questions are in regards to the storage. At the end of the day, if the facility becomes heavily used, which we assume it will be, especially where the theater is, storage always seems to be a big issue. Where do you put everything? What do you do with it? So for the cost that's there and the value that it'll bring to us in the future, I don't know if that's a smart one to cut off the list. Also, the folding glass partitions, why were they included in the first place? With them opening up, were we planning on renting out the space so that they could utilize, somebody could utilize a much larger space? Because if they could, then that would be revenue against whatever potential savings we're going to make right up front. So that would really kill us moving forward if we just put solid glass. Because you put solid glass, now you're done. Those meeting rooms can only be used as meeting rooms. You cannot open it up to actually make a bigger space. If somebody wanted to put on, I don't know, some kind of reception or a gala or something like that, I don't know. But I wouldn't want to kill any kind of revenue making just to try to save a little bit up front from the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, let's stay with 1.1 for now, the change in building envelope, and then, because we're gonna have to do recommendation for each one. Let's deal with that. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Harper.
I have a question. Will it look this ugly if we keep the aluminum siding? Because it looks like it's from 1990s or Soviet Union, something like that. I mean, do we get different quality of like aluminum siding color? That's an option. I don't mind the savings, but I mean, I don't like the rendering that you gave to us.
Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Councillor Harper. Yes, what you're seeing here is just a rendition. The metal is going to have a bit of a corrugation to it. It's what gives us its strength. The colors, the corrugation style can all be determined at a later date. So that's in phase 2 or 3. So lots more decisions to move through if we are approved to move.
Thank you for that. Mayor Leduc?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I support the savings of going to the aluminum siding. It talks about it in the report. The ground level is going to be more durable, so I think it answers Councillor Kite's question. And the savings of $1 million is certainly what we want to do. We want to bring this down as much as possible. So I'm in favor of the aluminum siding because hearing our Director of Recreation and Culture making that we can change the color, things like that, the look of the panel. I'm assuming we'll be able to do a nicer look at that. But I'm in favor of the aluminum panel versus the concrete. Yeah, I'll make a recommendation. that we
Okay,
support the reduction.
so before we put that, any other questions or comments about this? Okay, we have a recommendation to move with taking off $995,000, changing the building envelope. Seconder, Councillor Harper. You have the, Madam Clerk, you have the wording, right? It's pretty simple. Deduct it, it replaced, yes, please. It's pretty simple. The recommendation is to replace fiber cement panels with metal panes on admin, gym, and auditorium with a reduction of $995,000. Okay, moved by Mayor Leduc, second by Councillor Harper. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 1.2, auditorium storage. Mayor Leduc.
So I know Councillor Jordan has a question for it too, but I'll just comment that I actually support the keeping the storage there. I think it's an excellent idea, and I think Councillor Faragini spoke well about it, that it is something that this is a building that is going to be around for a long time, and that storage is going to be somewhere we're going to be looking for in the future. So that to me is an added value versus a saving. So I support keeping that second floor storage in place.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Giordano.
Well, there's never enough storage, but one of the things maybe to make aware to my colleagues is that if this structure is made out of structural steel, you can actually build the supports for the mezzanine in place and add it on after the fact. If it's the other types of construction methodologies, I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe they can comment on that.
You could do it either way. If we design it and future proof it to add something later, that could be done. Adding it later is going to be a little bit more expensive than doing it up front, but we could always take whatever recommendation and future proof it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Verkuyk.
Just like to get some feedback from staff on the utility of the storage and the value of it.
Thank you, Councillor Verkuyk. This was a team decision, the construction team decision, or sorry, the design team's decision, along with our support. We recognize the value for the square footage on this one, and it's going to be invaluable in our opinion. That's why we included it, because you hadn't seen this option before. So we're including it today so you can have a first look at it, if you want us to go ahead with it or not. That's really where we are. We see the value.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper.
Just to clarify, this one's for the second floor, second level of storage, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dike.
I know staff went out and talked to different performing arts and theaters and different recreations. It was brought to my attention that if we put on shows there, is there enough room for storage in the back room for the stage for dance or whatever? Like, is it, how functional is it from your findings? That's my question.
Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Dike. In behind the stage is almost a green room kind of area for changing. It's going to be very, very flexible curtains, so it can be used for a lot of different purposes. When it comes down to if somebody, a production wants to come in for storage and they're going to be residing for a month or so, that's where we're running into problems. We're going to need the storage. We need the flexibility for any type of performance that could potentially come in. We're not just talking about a dance academy. We could be talking about a theater group. We could be talking about a musical entertainment. We just don't know, but we have to anticipate as many things as we possibly can to utilize this space.
You're okay, Councillor Dike, or follow up? Okay, any other comments or questions? Mayor Leduc.
I'd like to propose a recommendation that we keep that storage on the second floor as part of our original build. So to add it.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Scott. Okay. All in favor of keeping the second level storage? 1, 2, 3. Any opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you. All right, revised folding glass partition. Councilor Ferragini will work down the table.
So can I get an answer to my question?
Thank you, Councilor Ferragini. Yes, it is for any potential that we could possibly have in that space to open the space up for that type of revenue generating activity or event. It could be a town event, it could be a permanent event, any number of things could happen. Again, very similar to the square, what can we anticipate? Let's wait for proposals, let's wait for business. Do we have a business case? Do we have fees set for these spaces yet? No, but it's going to offer you the greatest potential for the space if you have the partitions. If you don't have the partitions, it's not a showstopper either. It's still a very usable space. It walks out to the patio. Understand that as well.
Follow-up?
Yeah, so follow-up, I'd just like to say that I see a lot of value in that because I see it as a revenue generator. When we see the leisure center that we have those rooms that we can rent, when somebody needs a bigger space, we actually have a partition where they can actually utilize both spaces. So it makes more sense. They actually can use a bigger space and you can get more revenue out of it. So I don't see it as being a smart move to try to save a bit out front when this building is going to be here a long time and you can actually make a ton of revenue over the years.
Okay. Mayor LeDuc?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to actually support the fact that we put in permanent glass. When I look at the space, and Councilor Virginia, I take note of your comments, it's like off the side of the patio, so it is like an independent room within itself, and I understand opening this up, you can create this larger diagonal space. But in my mind, for the 231, I think we could be without it. You'll still get the rentals on these these spots because there's doorways there, so you could still get independent rentals there. But I think for the 231, there's a savings there, and it could be something we could probably add in the future if we wanted. But for now, the 231 savings is more important to me than putting in these sliders for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Giano?
So I see the value on both sides. My only concern is when there's large partition walls of glass, whether they're moving or they're fixed, health and safety is getting involved a lot now, and they're starting to put all kinds of decals and everything else so people don't walk into them and get hurt and injured. So on the rendering, it looks super slick and very nice. In the practicality, these things could actually not look that nice as we go through the practical application of in this space. So I'm almost debating not having any glass at all. Wonder what the savings is completely, and then you can have dividers or other types of, if you have like an event or something like that, you can put like, fixed or portable, dividers that kind of separate the space if needed, but it's more of an open space. Maybe Terry and the team can comment on that or your thoughts. I'm just curious.
For the functionality of the spaces and its general use, we're going to need some kind of partition, whether it's glass or fixed wall. That's one conversation. If you want the flexibility of not having anything, the privacy of, say, a lunchroom, privacy of, say, the meeting room is now lost. So I think council needs to make a determination on whether you want the glass fixed or moving. If you want us to look at a different type of system altogether, I understand what you're saying. There'll likely be some frosting on the glass to prevent some of that stuff, what you're talking about. But if you look at the aesthetics of the building, it is glass and wood as well. So do you want to just make this one space separate from the rest of the building? We could always take those suggestions and come back to you, but it's not going to help you move forward quicker tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Kike?
Yeah, two questions. First one, what are those three spaces going to be used for when there are three independent spaces?
Thank you. One will serve as the staff lunchroom. One is a fixed meeting room, and the other space is actually just a congregation area for any purpose at all.
That's the center
Correct.
area. Okay. I kind of like the glass, the open functionality of it. Is there any way to make it glass, not sliding, but have like a 6-foot door opening like that door over there and sort of join the spaces, but do it more cost effectively than sliding the glass all the way out?
I believe some modifications could be made if that's a determination you want to do after we go to design build. So with that suggestion like that, you would want to have fixed glass with possibly a door that could then be built into a tender document. It's not going to affect you too much today. It's really the sliding partitions that we want to talk about because it comes with tracks everything else that comes along with it. So it's a little bit more detailed. But if it's if that's something you're looking at, that could easily be incorporated into a fixed glass wall.
Okay. Councillor Harper?
My question was what actually Director Foran mentioned about getting us different types of systems instead of just a sliding one or the partitions or the ones that could just pull away. I'd like to see those options, like different options maybe than just the sliding one. In regards to the space that's going to be utilized here, what you don't see here is what winter time looks like in regards to festivities, rental options, amenities, or any types of like big gatherings that could happen here for revenue generation. That could be the difference between only being used as a seasonal spring, summer, fall option, and then winter time it's closed because it's has static walls, or it could be an all year round thing. So I would like to see the different options or different systems. I'll just put that out there.
Okay. Councillor Ferragini?
I was going to suggest, because there's so many different ideas around the table, the structure of the building is not changing. So when it goes to the next level, can the different ideas be brought forward at that time? So can we just defer this one back to staff and they can throw different ideas at us at the point?
Go ahead, Mr. Foran.
Ideally, we want some kind of direction on this just based on what our cost matrix is to get you to a final number by the end of the evening. If you want to suggest that you're going to go with fixed glass and that come tender time, we can offer up different solutions. That's something that we can do, but it's not going to be as accurate as we are. We know things are going to change when we go to market regardless. This is our best estimate at this time on what these two options could look like, these two options.
Good point, Mr. Foran. Councillor Scott?
Well, just on that, could we look at something like we remove it, but if we bring back an option with wide doors, like I think the mayor and a few others said, remove it for now, but if there's a bit of a hybrid option, that's a modest change down the road. That's how I'd want to do that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Would you like to move that option then? And seconder? Okay. You understood the direction, Mr. Foran?
Yep. I believe we understand that we're going to take the savings on this and then solve some other issues. And if we feel we need to report back, we can. We may just include those changes potentially into the tender documents.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the recommendation is that we take out the folding glass partition and come back with any hybrid option if there's a need. Otherwise, you're going to go with glass out and then whatever the option is there. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, one opposed. All right, carried. All right, Mr. Bauer, we're getting into the structural. If you want to quickly go into each, let's go with one item at a time.
One item at a time.
Please,
Sure,
thank you.
sure. No problem. So item 2.1 is the steel structure of the gym. So one cost saving option, which would result in around $300,000 is to replace the mass timber structural beams that you see on image on the left with steel structure, which is the image on the right. And those beams could be colored in many different ways. We could color it as the same color as the wood, just to make it blend in. But there is some possible cost-saving options there. One thing I do want to note is that I'm currently at a mass timber conference in Vancouver, and just talking to some of the fabricators out here, I could tell you that the industry, the mass timber industry, is very hungry and very competitive when it comes to trying to match and even beat the cost of steel. So these numbers are straight out of our, cost estimate, but once this goes out to market, these numbers may be very different. You might actually get cost savings at the end of the day if you go with complete mass timber structure. because it's one system altogether. So I just wanted to put that as a grain of salt in case we ponder on this too long.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Leduc.
Yeah, so thank you for that point, and glad to see you're out there at a Mass Timber conference. And I would today, seeing the 300,000 savings, I would go with the steel structure for the for the gymnasium. And then when we go to tender, there is going to be opportunities for us to review some of these things and either find further savings or make some significant changes that we would like to see. But I don't have a problem with seeing that the way it is with the steel structure painted right now. It's a gymnasium, so to me, I think we go with tonight's savings, and then again, like I say, when we head to market, the experts come back and tell us what they think they want to do and what they can provide for better savings. So I would support the steel for tonight and put a motion on the floor after everybody spoke.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Dehaney.
Thank you. Just for my own understanding, I just want to make sure that whatever we're voting on here tonight is not the final say to the project. It's just to reduce some of the numbers to see the final numbers, and then we'll get the opportunity to vote yes or no to this project, correct?
Thank you, Councillor Dehaney. Yes, our goal is to get to a final cost estimate based on these options. Mayor Leduc was quite right. If we go with steel, the design team may come back to us, whoever's eventually hired, and say, why don't we just run this with wood? We can do it just as affordably. We can make those decisions as we go through the next design phase. Remember, just want to remind everybody, we are at a 30% design phase, Class B cost estimating. We're just 30% of the way through design. We have a long way to go. So yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So I have a recommendation that the committee recommend council approve the replacement of mass timber beams with steel beams with the gymnasium for an estimated cost savings of $300,000 for the civic center development. Moved by Mayor Leduc, second by Councillor Scott. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, correct. Moving on to 2.2, steel structure for the auditorium.
Right. Okay, so the second item, 2.2, so the steel structure for the auditorium, specifically the roof of the auditorium, we could refine the steel structure from steel joist from wide flange beams to open steel web joists, which is a bit of a lighter steel structure. Now, a lot of this steel structure is going to be clad with acoustic material, so you're never going to see it, but there is a potential savings. So that's the number that you see over there, 105,000 is the cost saving associated with that, and that's to go with something that still will give you the structural integrity, but it's a bit lighter in terms of weight and construction.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Verkuyk.
I want to move that we approve this one. Well, we can move it.
So I have a recommendation to move it. I have Councillor Scott that seconded, but we'll still have discussion on it. You just wanted to move it, right? Okay, Councillor Giordano.
Before making the decisions, is there any issues when it comes to rigging between the two roof systems? Is there different types of capacity loads and whatnot?
This is essentially for the roof structure and cross membering across the span. It doesn't really change, I believe, our rigging setups that could be potential. That'll be separate, I believe, to the beam capacity.
That's right.
Councillor Harper.
I've seen some of these types of rigging setups in my line of work in the private sector. One thing that I see of this and it just happened over at York Region, is that they went with a lighter structural steel on the top, and they've had to come back and now add rotting to actually support the trusses based on wear and tear over the last 20 years. And one of their facility warehouses over on Harry Walker. So that being said, like, they went for cost savings on that, but there is a potential for that. Can you talk about the type of weather systems and over time in regards to what we're actually looking at here?
With the open web joists, the capacities are going to remain the same, whether it's a fixed beam or not. It's the engineering that is the difference. It'll have the same capacities. We've used open web joists in many of our builds, including Leisure Center 177 Church Street for broad spanning. It's quite effective. I've seen it in arenas as well. Again, it's not about the strength. It's there. It's engineered to be that way, and I'll rely on the engineers to tell me different, but I'm pretty confident we wouldn't be proposing this if it didn't have the same capacities.
Yeah, if I could just add in here, we are at 30% contract documents, so we do have quite a bit to go to finish the design and the coordination with our structural consultants. So if this is the decision to proceed with the open web steel joists, obviously we'll check with them and coordinate that any additional weights that are required for the theater are accounted for, and we could future-proof it for, potential other weight if we choose to. So that's all going to be coordinated in this last stretch of the design.
Follow up, Councillor?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, like obviously HVAC systems and heating systems on top of that, and where their location might play a factor, and we may have to add more structural support for that. Well, the other aspect is the environmental and leaking part of that. So that would be just my concerns, just to note on record.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I think I had it moved by Councillor Verkuyk, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the committee recommend council approve the replacement of wide flange steel beams with open web steel joists within the auditorium for estimated cost savings of $105,000, $105,900 for the Civic Center development. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. 2.3, Mr. Bauer.
Right, 2.3, we don't have an image for that. So if we could go back to the decision matrix, I could just identify that item. And it's one item that we actually have accounted for in the design based on a previous direction that was given back in February. So this is the CLT wood deck at the gym and east lobby. So originally we had cross-laminated wood deck sorry, as the roof. We have now replaced it with metal deck instead, and as a result, we have saved around $142,000. So that's already accounted for in the current design. So I guess there's no decision there. We just wanted to highlight that that's been kind of baked into the current design.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Now getting into electrical.
Yes, so the
3.1.
last three items, we don't have any images for them, so what we'll do is we'll walk you through them, explain them, and proceed that way. So the first item, 3.1, is alternative lighting fixtures. So the lighting fixtures package offered by subtrades may help to control may help to control costs. So the current lighting fixtures, we could go from, right now we have premium light fixtures specified throughout the building. There is an option to save cost by going with something a little bit more standard as opposed to premium overall throughout the building, and as a result, you'd save around $100,000. And again, once the DB teams come on board and they look at market values, they may find other ways to fine tune this number. This is just something that we've identified as potential cost saving based on what we've seen in the cost estimate and talking to our consultants.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, can I have, I'll read the recommendation if I have a mover in a second, please. That the committee recommend council approve the alternative lighting fixtures for an estimated cost savings of $100,000 for the Civic Center development. Moved by Councillor Scott, Councillor Verkuyk, seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Great, thank you. 3.2.
3.2. Okay, this is the AV additional equipment. So AV equipment, as some of you may know, is pretty pricey. It's very specialized equipment. There is potential for cost savings here. And there's a couple things that this cost accounts for. So one of them is the hybrid council chamber meeting system. Is currently it has a bit more of a robust system. It's mainly software related in order to allow for meetings such as this to happen in a very seamless way. So they have a specific software and licenses associated with that, and that drives up the cost. Some of the additional costs associated with the number identified as 679,000 are additional performance lighting fixtures, cable, rigging, drapery, and performance spaces. So this is basically to take a performance facility from that would if you look at a premium performance facility such as doing musicals, large music performances, professional dance performances. Those are kind of high level performances that require that kind of equipment. But if we're sticking to stuff like just lecture presentations, small plays, dance recitals, and basic music performances, you could potentially save some additional cost on those premium equipment that's associated with some of the higher performance venues. So that's what that number kind of identifies. It identifies both the hybrid presentations and the equipment associated with high level performances.
Great, thank you. Councilor Ferragini.
So with the 679, I find that all three of these items are extremely different from each other, and I was wondering if we could break them apart, because the hybrid council chamber meeting systems, I'm not like with licenses and everything, that would be an ongoing cost, I would assume, because you have to pay for the licenses all the time for different software, for the software to continue getting the service on it. And for what we've been using to this point, I mean, most people are using Teams or Zoom or whatever to do that, and the system we're using versus this. So I'd like to know what the different costs are, because if you're going to take out the additional performance lighting fixtures, cable rigging, you're putting together a nice theater. So I wouldn't want to start Mickey Mousing it right from the beginning to save some costs up front and miss out on potentially having some really great performances. That's why this is being put together in the first place. So we should have that stuff already included in it. You didn't touch on the addition of the wireless microphone system in the fitness area. I don't even know what that is or why you would require that. So these three items I feel are so separate from each other, and they should be broken down in separate costs so we can actually see how that cost comes to be.
Yeah, we could certainly do that. I don't have that number right now, but one thing I do want to note is that for some of the premium equipment, in terms of the infrastructure to support it, that infrastructure will be there. So whether you choose to proceed to buy the premium equipment now or later, it's not going to affect the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is going to be available to support that at a later date if you choose to go with something that is standard, and then in the future decide to upgrade it. But we could certainly give you a more finite breakdown of that value.
Okay, Councilor Giordano.
Yeah, great job, Councilor Ferragini. Basically teeing off what I was about to say too. One of the concerns I have is with the hybrid council chambers and the meeting systems and everything else, I couldn't care less about that, to be honest with you. We have already invested in a system. It's not great, but it's getting us through. If we do go ahead with this build, the council chamber is probably the least of my concerns out of everything. I want to caution everybody about, and Councilor Ferragini touched on this, it costs tens of thousands of dollars every performance to bring in rigging and lighting and everything else. you will create a massive barrier for a lot of people to do something of significance in that space if you don't have that in there. You can go to the old movie theater in Newmarket. It's called Crosslands Church, and they have, you know, their mixing station set up. They got all the lighting and everything else, and other people rent it out. And there's revenue opportunities because it's plug and play for the most part. The costs associated with everyone bringing in those types of you know, first of all, rigging's very expensive. Labor is insane to do all that, and then to tear down, like, you know, moments after, it's not feasible. I'd rather have that included. If we're going to do the space, let's do the space right. The wireless microphone system in the fitness area, I'm still, I can't even understand why there's a fitness area in this building, first and foremost. Is it for, like, you know, like when they're exercising and to get everybody going? Well, that's what our leisure center's for. So I'm not a big fan of a wireless microphone system there. You can put wired microphone systems, or you can have Bluetooth speakers for now. I think that's kind of where I'm at. So if we can break those things up, that's what I'd be comfortable with.
Thank you. If you can clarify, this is not taking out the system. This is basically downgrading it or lowering it. Okay. Do you have an answer for Mr. Councilor Giordano's comments or questions?
I won't disagree that doing it now for the big show is more cost effective. I think there's a recent example of town of Aurora built a nice theater. It has high end, 3 layers of staging, 3 layers of curtaining, backstage, side wings. There's a lot involved in this stuff, and they've done it really well. It's kind of what you're looking at if you've had an opportunity to be there. That is what your high end is. This is your recommendation, it's not mine. We're talking about a large facility here with a lot of money. We're just offering you some opportunity to wean it down a little bit if you wish. Again, we have to determine, we can't determine today what that venue is going to look like in the future, what the take-up will be, whether production companies roll in or not. These things are down the road quite a ways. However, if this is the direction you want to go, up front now is the way you go for more affordability overall.
Also, Mr. Foran, if you want to touch on the question about the leisure facilities or gym facilities, or if maybe CAO wants to touch on it. I know the answer, but I'd rather come from you.
When it comes to the mic system in the fitness area, it's not a requirement. It's a nice to have. We can go with that. It's a small fitness center. We're trying to engage another area of town for public participation in the building, similar to our gymnasium, for them to go, but also offer a very clean, a close venue also for staff if they want to participate in a membership. They don't have to drive across town. So it can be a lot of good for a lot of things. But no, we don't need mics in that fitness center. It would be great to do for running a class or something, but not necessary. We can do a portable system.
Okay. I have Mayor Leduc and then you.
So thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for that. I'm okay with removing this. I think it's $679,000 worth of savings at this point in time. We're not actually getting rid of it. It's just we're saving some money. It's like the director said, we don't need the wireless system for the fitness area, and we don't need the hybrid council chamber meeting system. So not too familiar with the rest of the additional performance lighting, but I'll leave it up to the experts to hopefully help us through that. And I've been to the Aurora site, so I was there when they did the grand opening of it. It is the high-end theater for that's Aurora. That's what Aurora does. We just I think it was said in the presentation, this is for recitals, which we're hoping to attract as recitals and other opportunities for local folks to use this as a facility. I'm hoping that the audio that we're putting in or would be put in would be able to entertain movies for the younger generation. We want to hold movies there, so as long as that fits that and brings that to the stage, brings that to that building, I'm fine with that. So I could live with these savings. Thanks.
Okay, Councilor Kite.
This is all stuff that could be added later, at a later date when we see the need.
Yep.
Okay, Councilor Daiki.
All these little things in the theater, is that DC related? We get for future development, or is it to the taxpayer at 100%?
Okay, I'm going to ask our CAO to answer that question.
Looking towards our Director of Finance to nod, but performing arts spaces are not eligible for development charges.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Do we need a motion to take that out? Or?
I will read the recommendation then. Just to comment, I'm okay with any money we're saving. But the word of caution is, and it's something that Councilor Perugini brought up, and I seen it at the county, is that, you know, when we're putting a performance center, if you don't have the proper sound system there, your best of the best performances will not be enjoyed properly. Second thing is, we just went through county council where, you know, if COVID taught us anything, it was that doing meetings hybrid and stuff. And that's going to be thing of the future. And if it's going to, saving a little bit of money now is going to cost us a lot more or double more later on, we should be mindful of that. But I hear what everyone is saying. If there's no other questions or comments, Councilor Perugini.
Sorry, just one final comment, because again, I'd just like to stress that these three items are very different from each other and they should be broken down with different costs. The fact that we're just taking it all out right now to say, hey, we saved 679 on this building, it doesn't seem true to me, because we don't know what those costs can actually be. To the mayor's point, saying that we're looking at doing this in recitals and stuff like that, if you don't put the stuff in there, then yeah, you will only get recitals. But I mean, we're building a state-of-the-art building here, which has a nice theater space. We want to shoot for bigger performances. We want to have it used appropriately. It's not just to put together for small recitals, right? So I would have liked to seen these numbers broken down. I know, Mr. Foran, you said that you want to basically have some numbers for tonight. To just keep saying, yeah, take it out, take it out, take it out, to me, doesn't seem like real numbers anyways, because then when do we put it back in, right? So that's why I would have rather see them broken down.
Go ahead, Mr. Foran.
Thank you for your comments, Councilor Perugini. We're not just trying to motivate you to take away. We're offering you a package that will do. If you want to make it really, if you want to make that package, what I hear from my left side of the table, you're right, is that you want to see the full production. This is what that full production is going to cost you. Yes, I agree. Do we need the hybrid system within the council chamber? No, we can pull that piece of it out. But if you're really focusing on that theater side, then certainly we can apply those costs to it. But again, we're going to have enough there to get the activities we want to see in that space going. This is just taken to the next level. This is taking it to a professional level. Is that the business you want to be in? That's kind of where we want you to get tonight.
Okay, Mayor Leduc.
Yeah, just one last comment too, that I think, you know, we're at 30% design, and I think as they move through this and we go to the design build, we could entertain options like that in the future. As we go through the steps, we'll find, they'll come back to us and say, hey, you know what, we found this and we found that. So we might be able to revisit this at the time when we have an opportunity to maybe add this in at a better cost. It's just, I think tonight for the 30% design, we stick with removing it, and we can always bring it back if we feel the need as we move forward. I've been through the leisure center one where we sat, when we built that leisure center, we sat as a group of council and went through everything. We went through the tiles, the colors, everything. We sat and made decisions as we moved forward through that building. At that time it was Graham, what was his last? Tom Graham. And we worked through that process, and we were involved in a lot of things that moved on. And so as we got to that stage, we got to be able to make those final decisions to put things in or out again. So there will be opportunities to move forward with as we move through the design with some bringing in and out things.
Okay, I don't see any hands up, and then I have a recommendation that the committee recommend council approve the removal of the audio-visual additional equipment option 1 for the estimated cost of $679,000 for the Civic Center development. Moved by Mayor Leduc, second by Councilor Kike. All in favor? 2. Okay, all in favor? Sorry, can I see the hands again? Okay, any opposed? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. 3.3, Mr. Bauer.
Okay, the last item, 3.3, is another AV item. It's again additional equipment associated with the description of this one is digital nameplates for council chamber system. Again, this is a kind of a nice to have, but not necessarily needed. So we found that, we identified that as something that we could easily take out without affecting the overall function of the assembly. And the cost is a cost saving of $76,000.
Thank you. I'm just going to read the recommendation, and then if there's a need to have discussion, we happily will. The committee recommend council approve the removal of the audio-visual addition equipment option 2 for estimated cost of $76,000 for Civic Center development. Moved by Councillor Scott, Councillor Harper. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That's the fastest you've seen $76,000.
That is very fast.
Well, thank you. We're back to our main presentation. If there's anything else to present, otherwise I'm going back to the main motion. Madam Clerk, do I read it just as amended? I had a mover and a seconder.
You did have a mover and a seconder. I would say that we kind of set that main motion aside. We dealt with all the recommendations individually, and we're going back to the main motion that was on the floor with the Councillor Scott and Mayor Leduc that moved and seconded it.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll open the floor to questions and comments. Councillor Ferrigini.
Thank you. When we were going through the presentation, there was the one slide where we went through the overall project costs from the Class C costing to the Class B costing, which we went through fairly quickly. The furniture and equipment went up $200,000, which you touched on because we needed some outside. That's fine. But to the bottom, when we were talking about the cost to date, is this the money that's already been spent? Because I'm just trying to see, like, when you're looking at the land legal, it's jumped from 3.7 to 4.1. If you could explain that. And then the non-recoverable tax, how did it decrease from the 345 to 72? So I just want to understand those numbers.
Councillor Ferrigini, what page number are you on?
Slide number 6, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, six. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Ferrigini. Just want to note that the totals on the cost of dates are only off by 70,000. I think there might have been a bit of a rounding error or whatnot in the Class C schedule that you see on the right, or sorry, the left-hand side there. But the totals themselves have gone up due to the hourly cost of myself attributing costs to this project as we go through the design. So that difference you see on the cost of date is just my hourly association with this project and the tax implications as a result. But there may have been rounding errors on the table to the left originally.
Follow up, Councillor Ferrigini, or you're good?
Well, I understand the cost to date in regards to your number. I was sorry, the tax part of it. When you're saying the round, like, why did it decrease drastically to cut Class C? I just want to understand that.
Yeah, so the $345,000 in tax that we see on the left-hand side shouldn't have been $345,000 at that point. So those values were wrongly associated to the tax and should have been in the cost to date. And it's been reconciled in the Class B costing. Yeah, where the line above it filters to the line above, so the total cost of yeah. I knew that one was coming.
So eventually we're going to have to, when we finish, we're going to be saying that the staff has directed to proceed with procurement process for construction of the Civic Center project. And that's something that we're going to be voting on as part of this this resolution. My question is number one, there's two ways when you can go to procurement, right? One is with the final decision on what we're doing and we go ahead. Number two is we're going to go to procurement, we're going to find out a bunch of pricing, you guys are going to do some analysis and everything else and come back to us to decide if we're going to move forward, yes or no, with all the alternatives from the GCs and everybody else that bids on it, right? They may submit bid packages with alternative suggestions and concepts. So although I think a lot of us are interested in voting on whether or not we're going to go ahead with this project, yes or no, the point of this, just for clarification, is to go to the next step, get those procurement numbers and everything else, really see what the market bears, including any alternative design options or construction methodologies. And then at that point, council makes a decision. My question is, what's the cost associated? Is there a cost associated with us going to procurement? Is it significant?
I'm going to ask our CEO to answer that.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. No, so the overall response is no, that's not correct. If council provides direction to staff tonight to move forward as set out in the recommendation, we'll go through the procurement process as summarized on page 15 under next steps of the agenda. If the lowest bid is within the budget for the project, then we will proceed. If the response through that process either is above budget or for say some reasonably good reasons, the scope of the project or some design element is different with respect to the product with the lowest bid, that's something we would report back to council. So if either lowest bid is too high or something about the design makes sense and is lowest bid, that's something we'd come back to check with on council. But otherwise, we would proceed. Now, there's still, as the mayor said, there are plenty of check-in points with council as the design gets finalized and the project proceeds. But tonight is a major milestone when it comes to decision making.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's what I want clarification on. So we're basically deciding a town hall right now. And so I guess, Director, you'll sum up the total approximate cost that's associated with this, correct?
I believe we have our Director of Finance working it in the background. I'm not sure if, Ian, you've come up with a number yet.
Yeah, if we don't have the numbers right now, just don't forget it comes to council at the next meeting and we can still pull it and discuss it. You have the numbers, Mr. Goodfellow? Okay. Come on up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sandu. And assuming I was following along correctly with all the decisions, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 reductions made to the capital, to the Class B estimate, cost estimate for the project. Those items total just shy of $2.5 million, and when you add in the net cost of HST, it's $2,530,669. So the report as written had the cost estimate as $101,545,286. The revised number after the decision matrix decisions this evening, the new total is $99,014,617.
Councillor?
So I'd like to modify the yeah, I don't know. Let me think about this for a second. I don't want to put a motion forward, but I want to modify what we're doing right now. So I'm going to put something on the table.
How about you think of what you want to do?
I have it written down as a motion, though.
If you would be okay, then let's hear what the others have to say, and then okay, you're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have Mayor Leduc and Councillor Harper after.
Yes, thank you. And I know this is a milestone moment, and it's a 30% design, and council will have many more check-in points, but we have to make a decision. And in today's economy, I understand, you know, that it is a difficult thing out there. But when you look at the overall report and you look at the question asked by Councillor Scott and the reply by our finance Director of Finance in Goodfellow, it shows that this, moving forward with this bill today, would put us in better shape when it comes to paying for our services that we use now, our lease space that we use now, because this would be a fixed cost The financing has been put in the budget since 2017, so this is not something that's going to impact our residents. We have it in our budget already. It's there. We can debenture this cost over the 20 years. It's like buying a home. It's absolutely like buying a home. We're putting our town, our civic center on. We're paying it off over 20 years like any other person would do with buying their home. And at that time, we're then mortgage free, where we don't pay any more costs in the sense of leasing costs. If you look at the report, if we were to stay in leasing space, we have to add more space because we have our staff requirements. You look right now, we have 129 members of staff with 124 desks out there, 25 desks out there. This building is building into our future needs. It's got 150 spaces coming in this building. It's got a 0 to 10 year plan with some opportunities for space to be leased out that we don't have included in this budget. It's got a 10 to 15 year window where we can actually grow ourselves into the building. It has two other components to it where when we went to look at it, we brought in the Performing Arts Center and we brought in the Recreational Center also involved in this build. So to me, this is a great win for the community. I know everybody says the economy is tough, but you know what? It'll create jobs, it'll create opportunity for people in our community to hopefully gain some of those jobs. And the financing is all there for it. So I have no problem supporting this tonight to move forward. If you look further in the report, it talks about I've got to go to my section. I'm sorry, I moved the best and final offer, request for proposal. So we're going out. It's going to take us 4 to 5 months to see the documents to get through the RFP. And then in the end, there'll be a negotiation with the best and final offer, which council will see. We will see that. And like the CEO said, if it's too high or too low, it's going to come back to us no matter what for further analysis. But at this point,
Point of order. That's not what he said. He said that we put a number out there. If we hit the number, then they can go ahead with the project.
But
That's not what you
this
just
is
said.
not a point of order issue here. This is I'm talking about.
Gentlemen, let me decide. Please continue, Mayor.
Yes. So it will come back to if it doesn't fit the matrix of what we got out here right now. The project is built and we dropped it down to 99. What was it? 99.5? Did you have somewhere around there? Under 100,000. We haven't even got to any opportunities for. We haven't included DCs in there for the recreational side, right? No DCs in there for the recreational side yet. Accounted for. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, Your Worship, I was only speaking to the total cost of the building. In terms of the funding profile of the $99 million revised cost after the decision matrix, approximately $13 million I've got calculated as eligible for development charge funding. The other close to $89 million is non-growth share of the building.
Right. Okay. So about 89 million, and we haven't went out.
Sorry, 85 million.
85 million, yeah.
Sorry, 86.
It's close enough. We're splitting hairs at that time. But in order to get any kind of grant funding, you have to have a shovel-ready project. And we went and did the Leisure Center. We did the same program with the Leisure Center, and we went into the process, and we ended up getting $25 million, I think it was, for our Leisure Center. So you got to get shovel-ready projects. This has got all the financing in place for it, and I assume in the future when more grants come out, more opportunities come out, because the governments have to kickstart the economy of some sort, they will hopefully bring grant opportunities to us. But if not, we have the funding there for it. The grant funding will just help us sooner, pay the building off sooner. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this project. I think this is a time we have to make this decision to move forward. And if there is any significant changes to what's in front of us, it will actually come back to us. So I'm not afraid to move forward because the funding is in place for this. We've been planning for this for 8 years now. So to me, it's been well planned out. Been through this program before. We brought the Leisure Center in. It was estimated at $45 million. We brought it in at $42 million. We saved $3 million through the whole process in the end. So I'm comfortable going forward with this, and we've got the mover second or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I believe what CEO said was if the amount is less than what's before council, it would not come back to council. But if it's higher than that, then it would. Okay, with that, I have Councillor Harper, Councillor Scott, Dyke, and Ben. Okay, Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My questions relating to this: has the public been informed of the actual cost of this design, and have we gotten their feedback? Up to this point, we have just been shuttled into the Lion's Den at this cost to make the decision on this building at this point. But do we have the public consultation in regards to them wanting this as well?
Okay, I'm looking at whether CAO is going to take it or Mr. Foran.
All of committees and councils' discussions on this project for, I'd say at least this term and going back to the previous term, have been in the public forum. Council produced its strategic priorities in the public forum and identified what those priorities are. Budgets have been passed for the project in the public forum. So in that regard, there's certainly been plenty of public discussion available to the public. Right, the master plan for the 125 Simcoe property was developed with actually quite a robust consultation program. So that was the origin for the project. So I think it's fair to characterize it that this has been in front of the public for quite some time now, and certainly plenty of opportunities for the public to comment on it.
Okay, follow up.
So the direct question that I just asked is a no, but when you characterize it the way you did, I understand your meaning in regards to that it has been front-facing, but with the total cost and regards to all the additions that we have made, we haven't got any specific representation or knowledge from the public in regards to are they want this now. That is probably one of the most single overhead line questions that I'm facing right now. Does the public want this now? And I don't have a clear indication in regards to a poll, a survey, an answer from any of them in regards to the numbers of that, because they haven't been given this total. It has been public facing that it is looming around this figure, but no definitive answer in regards to the amount that has been proposed to us just minutes ago has been asked to the public as to what we should do now. And you're asking us to make this decision on a whim based on deciding Bradford's future. And that's hard. That's hard to fathom right now, and to make that decision based on I don't have the public's input on this. So I can't make this decision, and I'm almost entitled to ask for deferment until we have that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Scott.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I'm confused by the amount of moving costs and FF&E. If we're getting a lot of new furniture, the moving cost seems high. My other question, well, could we start with that? I just didn't quite understand those two line items in conjunction with each other.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. These are high-level estimates. Again, these numbers may or may not come down. In my opinion, this is a valuable number to have in the background. When we start going into an FF&E schedule for this entire fit-up of this facility, we are going to look at what is able to be reused or not, what's coming in, what's going to be new. It's going to be quite an extensive exercise, but I wouldn't advise on coming in with into this project with something less than that. Also understand we're going to be vacating facilities as well. That furniture still has to go somewhere, whether it's into a new exhibit hall or somewhere else. But the FF&E exercise is it's a very long, difficult process to navigate. This is why they're there, and this is why the costs have maybe increased a little bit with some of the additions that we've seen through the process.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I've lived it. You think you're practically done with the project, then you get into a whole other project. It just seemed to me that the moving costs were a little high if the FF&E were that high. The mayor alluded to it, but could I ask Director Goodfellow to speak to what I'll call the rent versus buy a home calculation? I've been asking for a few months if we could have an understanding of over 20 years. Is it cheaper to continue to rent 7 facilities, or is it cheaper to have 1 facility? Operations side, I mean.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. The charts you're referring to, let's ask the clerk if she can put it up on screen for the benefit of the audience and everyone else. So, as Councillor Scott mentioned, the questions were asked about the longer-term financial implications and operating budget forecasts for this facility going forward, and have that comparison to maintaining the status quo. So, continue with what we'll call the status quo or the rental model. So this chart was prepared, and to borrow on the language used by the mayor, when looking at the chart, the gray area, the big gray area to the chart, that is in effect the mortgage on the property. So and constructing the facility. So we are forecasting some interest costs on construction financing in 2026 and 2027. And then finally in 2028, having the first year of the 20-year repayment. So formally going to the debt market, similar to a report that is on the agenda for later this evening, to debenture the cost of the building over that 20-year time period. So you're seeing the debenture payments in full from 2028 to 2047, then they drop off after that. So that's what that gray section refers to. And then looking at the very bottom of the chart, in the green section, that's staff's forecast of the operating costs of the new civic center. So again, sort of borrowing on that analogy of a mortgage and perhaps a personal homeowner. So this is the cost of insurance, maintenance, utilities, things like that to operate the building on a daily basis. And these estimates have been prepared in conjunction with our Director Foran and his facility staff. So the same methodology you put into generating your operating budget estimates on a regular basis is the same thought process put into the budget estimates for the new town hall going forward. So you are seeing the estimates of the operating costs starting in 2028. And then we've just simply carried a 3% cost inflation over the term. You are seeing a bump, a little step up between 2037 and 2038. As council is aware, the current facility is being built not only for our current staffing needs, but also future staffing needs. And until we need all of the space for our future staffing needs, staff are proposing that we could lease out much, if not all of the space on the 4th floor of the building. So we are, the net operating budget in the first 10 years of the building is benefiting from a revenue rental income line. But as staff moved into that building, or moved out additional space on or about 2038 is the forecast, those rental revenues are disappearing. So that's why you're seeing the increase in the net budget going forward. So that's what that step represents. And then at that point in time, the building would be effectively fully occupied by town staff. So continuing to escalate those costs 3% per year thereafter through to 2049. The blue section in behind is what the estimated operating costs are for the status quo. So we have some occupied owned buildings such as 61 Holland East. We also have several rental facilities. We have 2 units at 305 Berry Street and 2 units at 100 Dissette Street. These are the primary facilities that staff would be vacating, and costs can be negated going forward to some extent. But if we do continue along those lines with maintaining those existing units and 61 Holland East, and those facilities are at capacity, so we'll need to add in we'll need to find additional rental space. So, so in this forecast in the blue line, you're seeing a little step up in between 2027 and 2028. The cost as well in this for the blue line, they've also been escalated at the same 3% inflation. So the same assumptions made under the status quo model or the new civic center model. And then as well, you're seeing another bump up in between 2032 and 2033. So we're forecasting again about 5 years time thereafter, we quite plausibly would be in the need for some more rental space. And a similar bump in 2037 to 2038. That's the same timeline as when the town hall will be fully occupied by staff or fully required for staff purposes. So I've done the math in terms of adding the same amount of square footage in the forecast to that point in time. So the same additional square footage is being added on in rental space in 2038 as what would be available in the town hall. And then finally another increase for more rental space in 2042. And then carrying that out through to a 2049 forecast. So in terms of total numbers, at maturity of the program, so I just got to flip to the right spreadsheet here. So, sorry, I'll maybe just back up. And so really the area that's shown by the blue that's revealed behind the green, if you were to quantify that, that equates to the dollars and cents savings of having the civic center in place versus continuing the status quo and renting. So that blue area represents costs that can be foregone and not incurred if the town hall goes ahead. So what that means in terms of actual dollars and cents, the gray area represents the mortgage, so that's the cost of the debt borrowing.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Goodfellow. Okay, let's go ahead, Mr. Goodfellow. Finish up your thoughts.
So at the end of that forecast in 2049, the delta is $356,000 a year. So at that point in time, the town hall model, if you add up all the operating budget savings, so again, quantifying that blue ribbon, the value of that at 2049 is just shy of $4.6 million. That is forecast to be saved going ahead with the town hall versus continuing with the status quo of renting and having tenanted space for staff purposes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Scott?
Okay, so thank you for that detailed explanation. Long story short, over the 20 years that we pay for the town hall, like through a mortgage, it's obviously more upfront money than it would be renting. But by the time we own the building, by the time you own your house, we're about $350,000 to the good because we're not paying off the mortgage anymore, and the operations of one building are less than the operations of 7+ buildings. Which, I mean, it makes sense. That's why they call it an investment. It would take 20 years to realize, but in the end, it would be a savings in the final year of the program and then going forward. It's cheaper to own your house than to rent it once you actually own your house and the bank doesn't. I just wanted to have that there because that's ultimately what we're being asked to do tonight. We're being asked to make a decision to invest in the long term. In the short term, in the medium term, we're going to need more rental buildings if we don't have a town hall. Of course, this building's more than a town hall. It's also a second small rec center and a performing arts theater, both of which, to Councillor Harper's questions, were identified in our leisure services master plan as community needs today. So the fact that we're able to do 3 buildings in one is a good thing. Tonight's decision is subject to confirmation at council. We're just a committee here tonight. I think the public has followed this closely. Very few people want a town hall, no offense to our staff. Some think it's awkward that a community of our size, you don't actually know where to go to get your municipal services, but very few people want to invest in a town hall. More people would like a performing arts theater and a second small rec center. And combining the 3 has always been the brilliance of this option. It's 3 buildings, not quite for the price of one, but we leverage the development charges for the rec center. I wish we could do it for the performing arts center as well. The bottom line is this is a big financial decision, but we're elected to make big financial decisions, and I think the CIO outlined the process that led to this point. My sort of final comment is something the mayor alluded to. Municipalities are put in this sort of perverse position where a bad economy often means more revenue for municipalities because that's when the feds and the province start to give us stimulus funding to build things. Go back to the Great Depression and the railway stations that we see today. You go back to 2008 when Stephen Harper had those economic action plan signs up all over our town and every other town. So I wish I could say I'm confident that we're going to get grants if we approve this and have a shovel-ready project. I can't be confident, but I think it's 100% of the shots you don't take, you miss. And so I do think there will be the potential for grants down the line, but that means we have to make a decision to set ourselves up. It's not an easy decision, but what I wanted to do in these comments was zero in on a few areas where I think we could drill down on the pro forma a bit more, the grants that may be coming, and then also just this this chart that basically shows what you would do as a homeowner to decide, is it worth it to take on this debt now so that 20, 25 years from now, I'll have the biggest asset in most people's portfolios. So like I say, any decision we make tonight is subject to the final ratification by all of council, but I think we put a lot of work and a lot of money to get to this point, and we have to keep doing the due diligence, but it is a moment of deciding whether we want to build a civic center and work towards getting those grants, or whether we want to park the project and potentially have the sunk costs that we've already incurred as the negative side of that decision. So either decision costs us in the end. One costs us the sunk cost, one costs us the future borrowing and future expenditures. But I do have to say the mayor's right. We've been building the funding envelope to do this since 2017, and a town hall or the revitalization of 125 Simcoe Road goes back at least 5 councils. I think only 2 members of council at this table were there back then. I'll just wrap it up there. It's obviously a tough decision.
Okay, thank you. So colleagues, I have Councillor Daiki and Councillor Verkijk. I just want to say one comment that this is a very important report and very important decision we're making, and we should take all the time that we need. But I also want to say that we have other 6 reports that were also part of the previous meeting that we had to postpone due to various issues. So just keep that in mind. Let's not repeat the comments, but by all means, take all the time that we need to make any decisions or comments or questions. Councillor Daiki.
Well, I have lots to say on this, and I'll do my best to walk through this the best I can. When I go back in history, 2007, 2008, we looked at a civics administration building on Holland Street. At that time, it was 12 to 14 million. Through inflation, you know, here we are at close to $100 million. And I think popularity, nobody wants to see us spend money into administration building. It's nice to have the other options with recreation and gym and all that, but it's all, to me, I was hoping that the feds and the feds and the provincial government would have had some kind of kickstart like we had with the leisure center, as we had the library. Because that's very beneficial. As James mentioned, $25 million, it was a sure helped, and that sure helped the bottom line to the residents of this municipality. I think that I can see the needs, and I think your team, Terry, and everybody, Ian, and the architects, you guys did a lot of work to this. And when I analyze, I don't want to be critical, but when I analyze your video, nice video, but I find a lot of very luxurious space. And when I walk down the halls, I find that's a very luxurious building. And on that statement, I'm going to wind this down. I don't think this is the time at this point. If I knew that we were going to get 2,000 homes on stream or more condos taking place and the cash flow was more positive than it is, I would be a little bit open, more open-minded to a building. We never went to RFP to see if any developers or anybody would build this building for us, and we could be tenants. Because when you're a tenant and you break, your furnace system breaks, it's they pay for it and they pay taxes. When we own this building, we don't benefit by we don't pay taxes. Municipalities don't pay taxes on the building. So there's two sides of the knife. But at this point, if we could defer it, have more public input, fine. But I'm just very cautious of the way money is spent now. You know, I can't even get, I'm going to be sarcastic, I can't even get speed bumps on Maple Grove, and how am I going to spend $100 million on administration buildings? So at the end of the day, I'm very cautious. We have roads to be spent, we have infrastructure. The main street's going to cost $20 million, the 8th line, sewage plant, $600 million. And there's a lot of things we have to be, and I know, Ian, you're a very smart CA, and I give you credit, but like from the business perspective, I'm an opportunist. If I seen a building or a plaza that we could have take that building and renovate it and at a reasonable price, I'd be open-minded to it. But to see a $100 million built, I'm very cautious at that at this point in this economy, unless the feds come up with $20-30 million to offset it, and there's other ways of doing this. And I know you need staff because we're growing. I look around, we have a young family based in this municipality, and we have so many young families. We attend events, New Year's Eve and different carriage fests. We have so many young families. There is a high level, and a lot of services are needed in recreation, the whole 9 yards. But at this point, I'm going to vote, unless we defer it, but at this point, I'm going to vote against it at this point. I know a lot of work has been put into it, and I respect everybody's opinion, but financially, it doesn't fit in my cards right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Daiki. When you were making those comments, I couldn't help but think, if something was going to cost us $12-14 million that you talk of, and that decision wasn't made that time, and I'm afraid that we're not going to be part of the same decision that We're not looking at this now, and then 10 years later, we're gonna be looking at double the price. And, you know, whichever council of that day will be sitting here, they might think of your words. Anyway, Councillor Verkijk.
Yeah, so when we started this term, we had a strategic planning session, and we basically said this was part of our strategic priorities. And we kind of made a decision there. And we've spent 3 years on this project. We spent $4.2 million. And now we're kind of thinking, well, times are tough and all that. So if we think the times are going to be tough for the next 20 years, well, then we're in trouble. But I don't think things will be tough for the next 20 years. If things are going to be tough for the next 3 to 5 years, this is probably the best time to build because the construction costs will be the cheapest. If the economy was booming right now, the cost of this would be going up and up. We know that. So the best time to build something is when the economy is down. I've seen this before with building schools, and people had, decisions were made in the like 2008, 2009 that were good decisions because it was the right time to build, and it was the cheapest time to build. And yeah, we need to make a decision here. We can't just keep sloughing this off. We really did make the decision 3 years ago. We haven't seen anything that's surprisingly off kilter. And remember, this isn't 99 million, it's 95 million because we already spent 4 million, and we're building part of a rec center and an auditorium. That's not part of the town hall.
Thank you, Councillor Verkijk. I haven't made a comment, but I would like to at this time. My view is that all 9 of us around this table were elected by the residents to make tough decisions. And sometimes those tough decisions are not very popular decisions, but they're right decisions when you look at, you know, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, how you're setting up the municipality, how you're setting up the future. You have to keep that in mind. You know, when we're spending taxpayers' money, I don't think there's anyone around this table that's not very cautious. We double check it, triple check it, because if it was our money, you can afford to make a mistake. But if it's taxpayers' money, no one around this table wants that on their back, that we weren't careful. As far as the public knowing it, I think public has been aware of this project very much since 2017 when we started talking about it. And the amount that we're talking today is a lot less than what was first projected, if I remember correctly. It was a lot higher. This team and the previous council members worked hard to bring it down with our staff and consultants. So I'm very thankful for that. But at some point, we're going to have to make a decision. Otherwise, we will, not we, whoever is sitting here at that time in council will be making the same statement that Councillor Dykey made, that we could have done this in 14 million at that time, but we didn't. And I don't want to be that person. Okay, so in that, I'm going to ask for any final comments or questions. And if there's no, then I will read the recommendation and go from there. Councillor Giordano.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 things. One, I did have a revised motion to this. But number 2 is, so we've been hearing growth. Growth is coming. Growth is coming. We're mandated to grow as well. But since this council started this process, we've had the ending of the largest sustained construction growth cycle in about a century. Even post-COVID, we had a pretty significant rebound. But right now, everything's changed. Everything has absolutely changed in the construction landscape. That's both beneficial and detrimental at the same time, depending on where we're situated. First and foremost, the union halls are pretty full. People are getting aggressive. So there is a lot of value to what Councillor Verkijk said. When people, their bids are getting very strategic, they want to keep their people working and they want to win the jobs to keep their facilities running and keep their employees employed. So that's a beneficial to this council, believe it or not. The other thing, though, that we haven't talked about that's actually in my revised motion to this is that most people that are building high rises cannot build high rises anymore. It's not feasible, and they're bailing. What they're now doing is that companies are actually saying, you know what, I'm going to get into the rental game. And there's a massive amount of backlog of projects that have converted from condos into apartments or mixed-use developments with, you know, rental options. And there's people who are never in the rental game. They're build it and sell it. Now they're saying this is what we need to do for the future. So one of the options that's actually in there, maybe we should bring up the motion though, but one of the things it talks about is whether we look at an option when we go to tender to say, hey, how's about somebody build this for us? I think Councillor Dykely mentioned this as well. Or maybe a portion of it. We own the Civic Center and we own the auditorium side, and somebody else builds us the government office building side and leases it back to us. There's a lot of significant savings that I think we're potentially leaving on the table by not approaching this situation when we go to tender as an A or B option. I don't know if maybe the director could speak to that or anybody else or the CAO, but it's a little bit different than the direction we've given. But based on the circumstances of what's happening in the construction landscape, I think it's a great opportunity now for us to take that approach.
Okay, I'm going to ask our CAO to answer that. Well, you have an amendment that you want to put up. Meanwhile, if we can get that up, please. Go ahead, Mr. McKnight.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. We're certainly open to whatever direction Council wants to provide us on the provision of space for the town. As a bit of background, in and around the period that Councillor Dykey referred to earlier with respect to potentially doing something on a parcel along Holland Street, through that exercise, we did look at kind of a long-term lease scenario, which I think is what Councillor Giordano is referring to. And enlisted some help on that, analyzed different scenarios in that regard. And I'd say not surprisingly that the long-term cost to municipality were higher to lease than own, primarily because obviously someone who's leasing property to us has got to build in some profit into that equation. So again, we can look at whatever council wants to instruct us to do this evening. But some of this analysis has occurred in the past.
Okay, thank you. Do you have your amendment, Councillor Giordano? Are you going to read it, or would you like me to read it? If you like me to read it, it has to be a lot bigger than that. Okay, I can read it. Whereas the estimated construction, this is the start of it, right? Okay. Whereas the estimated construction cost for a new Bradford West Gwillimbury Town Hall has been projected at up to 100 million, and whereas current construction market trends across the GTA, Ontario, and Canada do not demonstrate the growth necessary to justify the municipality-funded project of this magnitude at this time, and whereas federal and provincial governments are primarily directing infrastructure funding towards roads, transit, housing, and other heavy civil priorities with limited likelihood of grant support for municipal administrative office buildings, and whereas council has a responsibility to pursue fiscally responsible alternatives that protect taxpayers while still meeting the community's civic, cultural, and recreational needs. Therefore, be it resolved that, number one, can you move it up, please? That council directs staff to prepare a comprehensive plan addressing the financial implications of the town-owned civic facility versus purpose-built rental office facility, a cost-benefit analysis of leased municipal office space within a private development, and long-term capital and operating impacts under each option. Number two, that staff include in this business plan an employee consolidation and optimization strategy, identifying opportunities to reduce duplication, repurpose or dispose of surplus municipal locations, and improve overall space efficiency. Three, that staff evaluate and report back to council with 3 scenario options as follows. Scenario 1, a town hall facility as currently proposed. Scenario 2, a hybrid model where the town owns and operates the civic center, auditorium, gymnasium, and public amenities while municipal office space is accommodated in a privately developed leased back facility on the same site. Scenario 3, a civic center constructed separately by the town with the municipal office functions fully located within a private development elsewhere under a long-term lease agreement. 4, that's staff report back with comparative feasibility cost models and partnership structures of the above scenarios, including potential risks, timelines, and funding opportunities before any further commitments are made on standalone town hall project. Is that the intent? That's your, okay, do you have a seconder? Okay, Councillor Daiki? Okay. Any comments? Sorry? This is the amendment to that. So, okay. Go ahead.
So, Councillor Giordano earlier said that he hesitated to introduce an entirely new motion, and I guess I see why. But rather than, I don't know, this isn't an amendment to the motion that's already on the floor, but what I was going to suggest is, I think what Councillor Giordano is after is a procurement process that includes the option for a potential contractor to design, build, and own the town hall portion of the civic center. And I'm not theoretically opposed to that. I think the simplest way to do that would be to amend the main motion to say that staff be directed to proceed with the procurement process for construction of the civic center project, including a potential lease option. I don't know what we're going to get because we've done all the due diligence on an own option. But if we wanted to amend the actual motion on the floor to include procurement that could look at a lease option, which is what I think you're after, we could do that far more simply by just amending the main motion.
Yeah, so operationally, this is a brand new motion. It's not an amendment. So for us to do it procedurally right, we would have to vote on the main motion, and if it doesn't carry, then you can put this forward, unless the mover and the seconder likes to withdraw this, and then, but okay. So I'm gonna go with the main recommendation. Do I need to read it, colleagues, or you're okay with? All right. We're gonna vote on the main motion, and if it doesn't carry, then floor is open to put anything on the floor. So we're going with the main recommendation, and it's only 3 lines after reading that, so I will read it. Just
Deputy Mayor, point of order then, please.
go ahead.
Thank you for allowing the point of order at this time. In procedural preparedness, I would actually put forward a deferral of motion, or of the actual main motion. And that this goes back to staff to give us the recommendation for more public input in regards to, do they want this project or not? I'm
sorry, when you made your comments, you made a general comment about deferral, but you didn't call it, but you are within your right to call it, so. I waited. Okay, that's very good, thank you. Do I have a seconder for the deferral? Okay, Councillor Daiki, Councillor Dehaney. I really apologize. Okay. So I have a mover and a seconder, so we have a deferral on the floor. Any comments or questions? Okay. All in favor of deferral back to staff. Okay. Opposed? Okay. All right, that's defeated. So we're back to the main motion. I had a mover and a seconder for that, Madam Clerk, right? Okay. All in favor of the main motion in the recommendation? 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you. Okay, we move forward. You have your direction, sir. And thank you very much. And I want to thank the public for the patience. Normally it does not take this long, but this is, as you can see, a very important file. Colleagues, normally I would ask for a break, but we have people waiting in here, so I'm going to keep going ahead. Go ahead, Mayor.
I was just wondering, the people that are here that spoke at open forum, could you move their agendas up to the front? Would that be something council would be accepted? Yeah. I think we have point 4, and that was it, right? Point 4?
It was 8.4. I'm going to look at this side of the table if everyone's in agreement. Yes? Good? All right. Okay, so we're dealing with 8.4. Recommendation that report TR 2025-23 titled Always Stop Reviews be received for information. Mover, Councillor Harper, second by Councillor Dykey. I'll open the floor for questions, comments. Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm shifting gears here back into this recommendation, and I appreciate the OTM report and that it actually comes out here. And at this point, I don't know, I didn't see many hands, but I'd like to make a recommendation to include an always stop at Noble and Breeze on the following criteria. That OTM 5, although it really is useful, it does really only point out quantitative safety factors, and as council, we must consider several other things that are qualitative in nature, such as collision history, risk exposure, school zones, pedestrian safety, roadway obstructions, built form and development types, and that pertains to, like, you know, Noble and Breeze are lined with tighter townhouse development, right? It has limited driveway garage capacity, forces many residents to rely on the on-street parking. It's not a matter of careless use, but it's a direct use of past planning and design choices. This neighborhood is 20 years old. Factors of safety were not actually pointed into this direction. So as council and leadership, we have to basically take those considerations of common sense into accommodating this type of action. As you see in the numbers, it was actually relatively close in regards to the OTM on a quantitative value. It reached 270, which is pretty high. So when that framework provides that valuable baseline, it's never intended to override common sense and context-specific judgment by elected officials of who we are. We have seen the impacts on the ground. I especially, and have seen those lived experiences by walking this streetway, driving on Noble myself, and actually, you know, hearing from the residents that that live that experience today brings valuable feedback to us. Myself, as a former police officer, and one of the residents, a former police officer, they too have seen many different types of residential areas, and this has to have a lot of weight in our decision, which is why I'm making that recommendation that we implement an always stop control at the intersection Noble Drive and Breeze Drive, notwithstanding results of the OTM 5 warrant analysis. In recognition of unique safety risks presented by built form, on-street conditions, and community context, that this will create an anticipatory safety mitigation. So they'll know that they have to stop there, and then overall will create a safer community. That's my recommendation, please.
So you're moving that the always stop be at Noble and Breeze. Okay, seconder for that, please. Councillor Scott. Okay, any comments or questions? Councillor Virginie.
Thank you. When we created the TMS, it was supposed to go through all the accounts and everything, and I mean, it gets difficult because anybody who lives on that street is going to have different opinions based on what they see or what they experience, regardless of what the numbers show up. My question, though, in regards to Noble and Breeze, being that those sections are connected to other roads, is that what makes them a collector? Paul, I don't know if you can answer that, because they've been marked as collectors. I looked at them more as like local roads, these ones, which they would be hitting the threshold. So what makes them collectors? Because I can understand some of the other roads that we have, like your North Gate, like your West Park, like those are collectors because there's so many roads that funnel onto them. But when you take a look at Breeze and Noble, basically Breeze funnels onto Noble. That's it. So why are these not considered local roads? Because within that criteria, then they would be hitting the threshold.
They are designations through the OP. Correct. They're through the official plan. They're designated as a either a local collector, arterial minor, or arterial major.
Okay, so it's already been labeled as a collector, both Noble and Breeze.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Harper.
Thank you for that answer, Paul. And great question, Councillor Perugini. When you're talking about that, does it take into account all these other qualitative safety factors that I mentioned when we're talking about the OTM?
Through the OTM, it looks at volume data as well as collision data, and that's it.
That's it. Okay, so there were other qualitative safety factors that it didn't consider that I brought forward as well.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Leduc.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm actually going to support the recommendation put on the floor by Councillor Harper, supported by Councillor Scott. I think I've seen this intersection. I've seen it. I understand that the grade, grade up the hill. I'll be concerned a little bit about winter time because you're placing a stop sign on the hill, so it's going to be difficult for people. But we'll have to see what happens there. But I think I'll support that for that three-way stop sign there.
Okay, I have Councillor Dehaney and then Councillor Giordano.
Paul, so I know that there was a traffic study that was done, and I'm just going to focus on Ward 1 here. So I see that there's a recommendation for Miller Park Avenue, west of West Park Avenue. Will these lights be rotating, and is this within...
Councillor Dehaney, we have a recommendation that's for Breeze and Noble now.
Oh, you want me to touch on that? Oh, no.
If we can deal with that first, and then if you have a question later on this, then we go with that. No, there's a recommendation on the floor to put a three-way stop on Noble and Breeze. Okay, you have a question related to that? Okay, Councillor Giordano.
Yeah, I too just wanted to confirm a procedure on this because I didn't want to bring up something if we're talking about a specific one at this moment, just to make sure that we don't have ours excluded.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a recommendation on the floor to put a install three-way stop on Noble and Breeze. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? Right, carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, then we are back to 8.4. If there's any other comments or questions, Councillor Giordano.
All right, so as per open forum, we had a couple of residents for the last, well, it's great, I got to know them over the last couple of years. A lot of issues with this area, but it's interesting because I want to talk to Paul about this, or Mr. Dubenak, because the TMS report calculates both pedestrian traffic and vehicle traffic, but it doesn't take into consideration some of the considerations what they were talking about when it comes to sight lines or the ability to actually make a left-hand turn. Do you recall what the gentleman were speaking about earlier? Are you able to talk about that for a little bit? Is there any concerns, or like were you there during, because I know that you went during the summertime, but did you go after the fact as well, back to school?
Sorry, I did go before school was out last year in early June. It was Tuesday, June 10th, as well as Thursday, June 12th, to review the traffic patterns. The busiest times between 9 and 9:15. Prior to and post, traffic numbers really dwindle. There were 3 vehicles noted over the 2 days that did struggle to make the left turn, partially due to pedestrians crossing, and then also a hesitation on 2 of their parts. For the most part, traffic flowed. I know on day 1, the average delay was under 10 seconds to each vehicle making the left. Traffic does flow.
Yeah, so this is the challenge, because one of the suggestions was tell the residents to turn around and go down some of the other streets instead of making a left onto West Park. But now what you're doing is West Park's designed as a collector road, correct? But these other roads are residential roads that aren't designed for that. So the other issue is that if you notice on this list, there's 2 that are Huron and McDonald's, and then you have West Park and Huron as well. So the school, when this whole area was designed, I guess it's a new subdivision, newer subdivision. And when it was designed, that was never accounted for. The fact that so many kids are now cutting through there and using it. But the other thing is other kids are also crossing there. And I'm glad we put the crosswalks in. I think that was very important and it's been very effective. I know that there's the option to put a raised table in there, right? So raised intersection where the cross and keep the crossing marks in. That's what that's what you're proposing in the future?
With the 2025 traffic calming plans, it's to raise that crosswalk on the southern leg, not the entire intersection.
Yeah. With that, what's the opposition to the stop sign based on people exiting from Huron Street onto West Park? What's the opposition to that?
Stop signs work best through conflict, where you've got two roads of a similar volume hitting one another. Partially that's due to a bit of an inherent fear as you're driving your vehicle. You're worried there's going to be a car coming perpendicular to you. Unwarranted intersections, and especially Huron Lane, has such low volumes outside of those bell hours that the concern is long term that people won't treat the stop sign on West Park as a stop sign. They'll start to roll through it. They'll start to go through it. And it gives pedestrians they believe they have a safe crossing location, and the concern is for their safety long term.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
There's been some other complaints as well about that area, and it's unrelated to the stop sign. It's more related to the speed. But having that raised crosswalk basically is a giant speed bump with a crosswalk integrated into it, correct? Is there any lights, or is it just signage?
At this point, it would be the same signage that currently exists, just the crosswalk itself would be raised.
So this used to be an informal kind of committee, so we used to be able to have these conversations back and forth and everything else. This is a little bit more formalized now, so I apologize if I keep going back and forth. But I need to have the answers to understand what I say next. Is there any opposition to an additional speed table further down on West Park, not only for the speed preventative measures, but I think that might address some of the residents' concerns as well when it comes to having that break in order to make a left onto West Park. If cars are being slowed down on the northern portion of West Park, that would also give them the opportunity to find that gap to make the left-hand turn as opposed to a stop sign. Has that been considered?
Are you referring just to the addition of another speed hump further up the road? I mean, there's you won't face contention from me on that or go against it. I know the initial plan when West Park was reviewed was to actually have 4 speed humps in place. Due to budgetary constraints, we were limited on what we could put in at the time. So it is an option.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Dehaney, I think you had a comment.
Yes. So in regards to the resident that raised the concern about Sutherland having a speed bump around that area, and also other areas like Orr Street, we spoke about it as well. I know that there is a report coming for recommendation for those areas for implementation for safety measures. So for Sutherland and I can't remember, I think it's Sutherland and Metcalf, or I cannot remember. But anyway, what is the plan for that strip along that side? Sutherland and Metcalf and Wilson. Sorry, Tara, did the resident give the exact intersection? Because I talk to a lot of residents daily. But I know that there was a study done along that strip. No?
Maybe maybe we follow back with the resident, and perhaps that can be. It's not in this one, maybe in the next one, 8.5.
I believe it has to do with the 2026 traffic.
I think it's in the 8.5. So if we want to talk about any other questions regarding 8.4, any other recommendations? Okay, so I'm gonna read the. Go ahead, Councillor Gilletta.
So currently, do we have the speed bumps in any plans moving forward for West Park, or has that been removed?
I believe the only additional, as part of the 2025 speed calming program, was that raised crosswalk.
I'd like to move to defer that intersection to a future meeting. I'd like to have a little bit more work on that to see if there's some other options for that area.
There's nothing on the table. All the motion is to receive it. If you want to put a new recommendation, then it's just receiving it. You can bring it back at that time if you like. Right now, we're dealing with these, and it's just receiving a report.
Yeah, my concern is I don't want it to be saying, well, we've already talked about this, so it's not coming back. So if I could say, I'd like to receive this for information, and I would like to refer it back to staff for the next meeting. Maybe someone can help me with this, but I'm not comfortable making a decision right now, but I want to work on this further.
No, as Councillor Giordano, as a councillor of the area, we would always respect the councillor's will to work with the staff, and if it can't be worked out and it needs to be brought back at this committee, it will be brought back. That is not a problem. Right now, I believe in the open forum, the ask was for a stop sign at Huron and West Park, but if there's no recommendation here, I'm going with the main recommendation that's written here to receive the report, and we move forward. But with your understanding that if you feel that you need to discuss this further and bring it later date, then so be it. Okay? All right, then recommendation that TR 2025-23 title Always Stop Reviews be received for information. Well, that's understood. Yours is done. Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder, Madam Clerk, for 8.4?
Yes, Councillor Harper and Councillor Dyke.
Okay, and we did the amendment that passed, so this should be as amended. Okay, all right, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you. Thank you for waiting, for the residents that were waiting for this report. All right, now we're getting back to the agenda 8.2, senior safety zones. Recommendation that report TR 2025-21 titled Senior Safety Zones be received for information, and that the Initiatives Committee recommend the following amendments to bylaw 2013-58 Community Safety Zones. Remove Miller Park Avenue from Holland Street West to Webb Street for the period designated as any time, and add Langford Boulevard from Holland Street West to Miller Park Avenue and Miller Park from Holland Street West to Langford Boulevard for the period designated as any time, and that the necessary bylaw amendments be prepared and brought forward to council for enactment. Moved by Councillor Verkuyk, second by Mayor Leduc. Any comments or questions? Mayor?
Had to be moved by a senior for sure. Oh, yes, I am. Trust me.
Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Harper?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I'd just like a clarification. I know I asked the question and maybe I missed it, but the one at 3131 line 8, that will be getting a seniors safety zone sign. I'm just, because when I look at the vote, the motion here, I know it's referring back to the report, but if I can just get clarified that that area will be getting one?
It's already a community safety zone.
It'll be getting the seniors one though, the
No.
senior sign. So it's already CSV, it'll just stay as that.
Correct.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Councillor Dyke?
Make sure I understand this. Miller Park, we have a lot of seniors, and what out of that building, just wondered why wouldn't we have it there?
It's repealing the section of the bylaw to just take that section of Miller Park out and then actually extend it all the way over to Langford. So it's the existing and further down.
It's widening the area. Okay. Councillor Dehaney, you had a question?
Yeah, the same one, but can you just simplify it for me, please? Thank you.
So the previous safety zone on Miller Park extended all the way from Councillor Dykey's ward at Holland and went to Webb. And so now we're actually extending it from Webb to Langford. So it's the broader section. Yeah.
Well, almost the whole thing. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried, thank you. 8.3, 2025 TMS quarter second update. Recommendation that report TR 2025-22 titled 2025 TMS quarter second update be received for information. Moved by Councillor Harper, Councillor Scott. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 8.5, Traffic Committee Program recommendation that report TR 2025-24 titled 2026 Traffic Calming Program be received for information, and that the Strategic Initiatives Committee recommend the purchase of 7 flashing radar speed signs for use along rural roadways, 3 roadways, 1 spare, using $33,926 in funds from the Community Safety and Traffic Congestion Project Fund, and that the committee recommend moving forward with the following 3 roadway sections from 2025 Traffic Calming Program as outlined in the report TR 2025-19, using $182,074 from the Community Safety and Traffic Congestion Fund, Langford Boulevard to south of Holland Street, Miller Park Avenue to west of West Park Avenue, Summerlin Trail, and that the committee recommend the following additions to the Community Safety Zone bylaw 2013-58, Danube Lane, Simcoe Road to Tiberni Way, Ferrigini Crescent to 77, Ferrigini Crescent to 194, Ferrigini Crescent, Tiberni Way, Jonkman Boulevard to Danube Lane. Oh, that was a long one. Move on to seconder, please. Councillor Dehaney, Councillor Ferrigini, comments or questions? Okay, Councillor Verkuyk.
I guess this is all to be considered at budget time, like the final.
Go ahead, Paul. You want to turn your mic on? Sorry.
Is it for this year's budget?
Apologies. Everything within the recommendation is funding that the town already, or the transportation department already has.
Okay. I guess my only comment is typically when we do the flashing radar speed signs, they usually put them up in pairs. And if we had 8, we could do 2, like we could do 4, and we wouldn't, like, why do we need a spare? It's just going to sit in the shelf. Okay. Or do you foresee that we would need one single one somewhere?
Similar to what the mayor mentioned, occasionally there are issues with them where they might not be repairable, and we've also had one disappear. So just to have as an extra, we did have an extra in stock, but last year council provided funding for 5 signs. So we used the spare to be able to put them out on 3 roadways.
That's my point. We're getting 7 plus a spare, sorry, 6 plus a spare. I don't know. It's just, okay. My second comment is on the priority ranking for where they should go on rural roads. It looks at the 85th percentile traffic speed, and it looks at the traffic volume. But the one thing that really needs to be considered in rural roads is the actual residential density. Because some of these roads, like we had a recommendation last year to put them on the Fifth Side Road where there's absolutely no houses. And whereas when you look at urban priorities, you have residences on those local roads everywhere. So it's kind of like that's a not a factor, but on rural roads, the density of the amount of people living in that area is a huge factor, because there's no point in putting flashing radar signs when there's no one living there. So I would like that to be looked at in future priority rankings. Plus, the road counts, the traffic counts is going to change drastically, I believe, with the Canal Road ramp closures. And I believe those traffic counts are scheduled to happen this month or next month. And let's not make any decisions on where to place them until we have the new traffic counts. So if you want to make a comment on the priority rankings and on the traffic counts.
Within the TMS score, driveways are considered. It was just to provide the information quickly for council that we kind of narrowed it down to just provide the average volume and speeds. You're correct. We are doing counts. They should, if they're not done already, be done within the next couple weeks on roadways around the Canal Road closure. Next year as well, we are doing the entire rural area in terms of roadway counts. It's the 3-year anniversary. So we will have updated information.
Okay, I have Councillor Scott, Councillor Harper, then Councillor Dyke in that order.
I just wanted to ask, I think it's in this report about John Street and Scanlon Street, and Scanlon Avenue. I believe the idea is that next year we could be considering traffic mitigation for those. It also ties into construction in the Holland Street Transformation Project, but we also then have the funding through the community benefit agreement with Holland House. So I'm just wondering if you can update us on that aspect.
You're correct. Within the 2025 traffic calming program and the 5 roadways that were selected, John Street was one of them. One of the recommendations through the design was that any work done on John Street East be matched by that on Scanlon. The consultant was able to provide a design for the roadways, and it's pending future funding.
That's great. So as soon as we can collect the funding from the condo development, we can get that done, which is excellent. And also just to say thank you for including the community safety zone for Lotto Park and the new St. Charles School. That's going to be really welcome.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I have a recommendation or amendment to the motion. Did you want me to wait and then do that? And see if get all the comments and then come back to that?
If you're okay, then let's get the comments and then we'll come back.
Please come back to me then when comments are complete.
Councillor Dyke.
Well, like it says, I respect your report. I still have a problem with from Melbourne all the way, Maple Grove all the way to Collins Avenue. That is a long stretch, and a lot of students are driving fast on that area. And recently, I'm getting a lot of calls on the 6th line. Now that the Canal Road's closed, a lot of people are using the 6th line. Traffic has increased, so I would like to see that future to be dealt with. So it's like if you want me to bring in a petition, I will. But that area, people came, they spoke during all the presentations, and it hasn't been addressed to date. Miller Avenue is shows you how busy it is. It's a safety zone, but we have a safety zone on Maple Grove. So there's a WH Day schools there, and I think that area should be addressed at some point.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Any other questions, Councillor Dehaney?
Thank you, Deputy Sandu. So, Paul, the highlight in yellow, are these the streets that are already addressed, or these are the streets where the light will be at?
The yellow or the highlighted roadways are roadways that were studied as part of the 2025 traffic calming program. So it's where our consultant was able to provide us plans to move forward with, pending funding, or in some cases where we have funding existing.
So, for example, here we have Langford or to Slack. We also have Sutherland, and where is it? Anyways, it's on it. What's the plan for that one? Is it coming to budget where we're going to make a decision, or what's the plan for that area?
So in terms of the review that Paradigm did for us, they looked at John Street, Summerlin, West Park, Langford, and Miller Park. They've provided recommendations based on the segments. I believe it was broken up into 8. We're looking at moving forward with existing funding on 3 of those zones. The rest would be a pending future funding.
West of West Park, is that around Ward 1 area?
Yes, it's behind the Zares leading all the way out to Side Road 10.
And the south of Holland Street, it's up Langford, up that side, Ward 1.
Correct.
Okay. You're okay, Councilor Dehaney? Okay. Councilor Giordano.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to stress some strong support for the implementation of what you've outlined here from chart 1 to 7. That's going to be in the springtime, it says, the target for that, correct?
Sorry, for the other roadways? Again, it's pending future funding, but yes, as soon as the funding's received, we can go forward.
Okay. And then one of the comments I was kind of making is when I was looking at this list, if you look at a lot of the top priorities, it was all new areas other than John Street. And then there's if you look at some of the lower priorities or next on the list, it's a lot of the older part of town. And it's just, it must be frustrating for both sides because the people in the new area, well, we're dealing with all these problems now. You guys had a head start with 40-something years, 50 years, 30 years of these subdivisions. It's a little frustrating that we're dealing with these problems 40 or 50 years later. Like, I don't know. But anyways, I want to make sure that we get the funding. This would be driven by our the ASE program. Is that generally where we funded in the past? Or we topped it up, or do we have this would be in the budget that the mayor's budget is going to be coming out with? And do these things have line items in there currently?
Sorry, I'll have to rely on someone behind me.
Mr. Coleman?
Can I ask, are we referring to 328,000? Is that what you're referring to?
Were you talking about the funding that's mentioned in the recommendation or in the report?
So I'm trying to get to the end of this. In the recommendation, it says $182,704, right? For Langford, Miller Park, and Summerlin Trail, West Park, all that stuff, right?
I believe that was said that this is out of the current funded 2025.
Okay. And then, sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth from attachment to attachment. So in the chart 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, not excluding 8. 8 is for John Street. Where are those? It says here that the attachment to recommendation for roadway reviews, right? That report is for spring 2026 installation. So I'm trying to figure out, is that part of the initial recommendation or is that over and above and additional?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Giordano. There's been what we have funded is from what we have in the traffic committee. The total amount is about $511,000. The remaining amount that we haven't requested here can go on to the parking lot in the 2026 budget for deliberations. And there's an option to, if there's an amount that's within ASE, to be funded from ASE.
Go ahead.
I'm just maybe looking for a little more clarity. So charts 1 through 8, that's going to be at budget time based on the parking lot dollars allocated, or is any of that part of that's already been funded?
Well, I think what's in the I'll wait for them to answer, but I believe what's in the recommendation is already funded, but anything else in the report is to be discussed at budget. But please go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Giordano. The charts, so chart 1 to 3 are in attachment 2, are what is funded through the traffic committee budget. Charts 4 to 8 are consideration for budget time for 2026.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to go back to Councillor Harper. I believe he has an amendment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate your time. I'll be quick on here. When it talks about the second part of the motion, committee recommend the following additions to Community Safety Zone Bylaw 2013-58. I'd like to add two additions to this one. The first one being extending Northgate from Noble to Northgate and Parkside and Deputer. Inside this area is the entrance and enhancements, is the entrance to the Bill Marks Trail. Also, it's only a limited amount of space that's from St. Teresa, so we have that option to actually extend that community safety zone. Inside of here will actually help us move it. The enhancement will actually help move this area into the ASE service zone, and probably help with some other types of mitigations for complaints. The second one would be to extend Fletcher and Berry Street all the way over to line 8. Along here is like Lions Park on the opposite side, community shopping area, and Bill Marks Trail. This area is heavily traveled by pedestrians over on the east side, but coming into the Bradford bypass coming into play, this will also add to more of the ASE moving into town and setting up that safety zone for pedestrians and traffickers.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Scott. Just so we're clear, North Park from Noble, Northgate from Noble right to line 8?
No, to Parkside and Deputer.
Parkside and Deputer. And the second one is Fletcher to Berry.
Fletcher and Berry
to line 8. Okay, we captured that, Madam Clerk. Councillor Harper and then Councillor Scott. Okay, any comments or questions? Go ahead, Mayor.
I apologize. I missed some of that, so I'm just trying to figure out what we're asking for again, just so clarity. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, in the point of interest, these are just extensions of community safety zones to extend it.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Carried, and then coming back to the main motion as amended. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving to 8.6, Holland Street Signal Review. Report that TR 2025-25 titled Holland Street Signal Review Side Road 10 to Professor Day Drive to Melbourne Drive be received for information. Moved by Mayor Leduc, second by Councillor Ferrigini. Okay, any comments or questions? Mayor?
Just a quick one. I like the report, and I like the fact that they've looked at some of the stuff on the lights there, and they've improved it from looking at the small upgrades they're doing. The time, the 8.8, I think it is, or whatever. So I'm good with it. I think good and happy with the report. Sorry, didn't want to take up too much time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no questions. All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. All right, 8.7, 2025 long-term debt issue. FIN 2025-13 report was attached to the agenda, and we got all the email. I'm gonna, Mr. Goodfellow, if you can come up and speak to this briefly. But we all know this was brought up at one of the council meetings, and it was referred back to staff to do some more work and research, and it's a result of that. So, Mr. Goodfellow.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You're quite right. This matter was brought to Council at their September 2nd meeting, and for lack of a better phrase, Council challenged me to go out and do some more shopping around to see if the dollars and rates that the town was quoted was in fact the best and lowest cost opportunity we had to place the $40 million of debt. And so staff went and prepared a quick little document. We issued to five chartered banks, and with a request to submit their proposals on the 19th of September. So this closed very, very quickly. So I appreciate the opportunity to get this back in front of you as quickly as we can. And as well as helping out with the overall process that this is, you know, my ability to provide the financial institution with certainty about council's decision on a shorter timeline is helping them out a great deal in terms of, I'll say, locking things down at their end in terms of the rates and commitments and things like that. So this has been very helpful to get this back in front of you this evening. So I appreciate the opportunity. And as well, very happy to report that council was right. There was an opportunity out there to be had, and this process did reveal that. So we received 4 proposals back from the chartered banks. There's one bank that notified us that they declined to participate, just based upon their own expectation of their competitiveness, competitive ability, and they didn't feel they were able to do better or more than what we already had on the table. So going forward, there is a recommendation to, in keeping with the strategic decision before, the recommendation of staff to go with a 7-year term, because we have some more debt that's going to be maturing on about that same timeline in the future. And as much of this growth and the existing, as much of this debt and the existing debt that's maturing about the same timeline are all focused around growth-related opportunities. Again, hopeful that we see an uptick in our real bricks and mortar growth in the municipality, and have further collections of development charges. We'll hopefully be in a different financial position 7 years from now to perhaps, if nothing else, consolidate those 2 debt vehicles into one, but optimistically be in a position to perhaps pay them down or extinguish them completely if things are really great. So that's the strategy that's in place, and so that 7-year term actually represented of all of the rates and opportunities that the banks responded to us on. That 7-year term actually represented the very absolute lowest cost of borrowing, so lowest rate of interest was available for a 7-year term through TD, and that rate is 3.595%, and that compares to 4.45%, which was what I had brought to council back on September 2nd. So as a result of that, the total annual repayments, so basically we're saving about $207,000 each year over the 7 years in interest costs, so about $1.4 million of savings, round numbers, as a result of going back out to the market and broadcasting our net over a larger pool of lenders. So we're very happy with the results of this. So I appreciate council, you know, referring the matter back to staff and challenging me to go out and do see what the rest of the market had to offer. It was a very fruitful exercise. So so this report is in front of council tonight to hopefully embrace the option that's in front of us, and that would let me go ahead and continue to work with TD in terms of letting them do their due diligence, whatever that may be, in terms of credit reviews or whatever work they need to do to satisfy themselves. And then as well, any work that we need to do, and then I'll return to council with the bylaw on the fullness of time to actually have a bylaw in place to authorize the borrowing as required by the Municipal Act. So hopefully that's not too much information. Let's wrap up on what's in front of council this evening.
Mr. Goodfellow, thank you. Thanks for that detailed update. I want to thank you and your staff for doing this work, and more importantly, I want to thank Councillor Giordano and the rest of the council for, you know, sending this back. Anytime we look at things through a different lens, you know, on this one we're saving $207,000 more. Anyway, we also had a question at open forum about this item that at some point I'm going to be looking at you for an answer if you have it now or maybe later. But before I do that, I do have a recommendation that I'm going to read, and then we put it on the floor and have further discussion. The report FIN 2025-13 titled 2025 long-term debt issue be received for information purposes, and that staff be authorized to continue to work with TD for the placement of $40 $1,300,000 of the long-term debt for 7-year term as outlined in the report, and that the required bylaw to authorize the long-term debt be approved by council once the terms and conditions associated with the debt are finalized. Mover, Councilor Giordano, seconded by Mayor Leduc. Okay, now I open the floor. Councilor Giordano.
So two things. One, $40 million of debt. It's a lot, especially if we're trying to compound and add more things to it. I wish we didn't have that high of a number. Some of the smartest people use debt to drive growth and to drive opportunities and everything else. So, you know, having zero debt's not always a good thing either. Being responsible with the debt is very important. I think the most important takeaway that I'm getting today of this is that this is a learning lesson for us. We're all elected here. We all have ideas. When I was asking about bringing these rates and everything else and looking at the rates, like I felt a little bit of hostility towards asking that question. And to be honest with you, I'm glad everyone's in the end supported it, because that's $1.4 million in real savings. That's $200,000 and change a year. I know you were playing with the numbers, Mr. Mayor, to try to get $30,000 in savings based on the percentage and everything else. But this is tangible, real dollars, and that's the beauty of listening at the table, right? We all have opportunities. Some of them are terrible ideas, some of them are great ideas. Who knows, right? I've had my doozies out there, but the point is that you know, I'm glad that this brought fruit, and it also helps with the market at the time as well. It was the perfect storm for us to actually do this. And everything kind of fell in line and benefited us. So thank you so much for doing that, because it's that helps us big time. I really appreciate your work on that.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Any further comments or questions? There's a good news story. Thank you. Thanks for all the work. Okay, with that, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. All right, the last report, 8.8. Recommendation, whereas the town has developed gateway sign designs options with MTO pre-consultation approval for proposed locations, and whereas BWG staff and Spectra Advertising have prepared 2 final designs options for council's consideration. Now therefore be it resolved that council received the presentation from BWG staff and Spectra Advertising on the gateway sign project. Council selects the option A, option B, as the preferred design option, and then council directs staff to proceed with the necessary work to finalize and install the new gateway signs. Council, can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Then we'll decide on the option. Councilor Giordano, Mayor Leduc. Thank you, sir. Mr. DeSano, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and to all members of council for your time and attention this evening. I do recognize that we're getting late into the evening and this is the last item, so I'll do my level best to so I'll do my level best to get through this material as quickly as possible to allow you guys time to, all of council members, to look at the options presented and ask any questions that you might have. So with that, I'll move to the first slide, please. So this just gives a high-level summary of the key players that are involved in the project. There's myself, serving as the lead or the coordinator for the project, along with Mahesh Ramdio and Jen Best. That is the core project team. We've also pulled in support from other divisions, including Joe Coleman, manager of transportation, and Mike O'Hare, manager of parks and property. They've been instrumental in giving guidance on municipal design guidelines and approval processes for erecting town signage. We've also got Dean Gillis that's providing administrative support throughout. Finally, on the bottom, we have the vendor of record. That is Spectra Advertising, and we are joined today with Robert Asenzi Jr., who's one of the founding members of the family-run business, so he's here to help answer any questions that you might have. Next slide, please. So this just basically gives an overview of what we've done to date. Since last year, October, There was a report brought to this committee with a recommendation to move forward with the design and installation of 2 gateway projects, or gateway features, I should say, along Highway 400. So since that time, we've developed an RFP early in 2025. The award was given to Spectra on May 30th. Shortly thereafter, we started working on design options, which were presented to council in a feedback survey about a month and a half ago. The results of that were communicated back to council and forwarded to Spectra to utilize in developing 2 final options to be presented tonight. So that's where we are right now. We are still targeting completion of the project by Q1 of 2026. So the goals tonight, I'm going to give a quick presentation, pass it over to Robert to answer any questions that you might have on the design, and then hopefully we get the recommendation passed with the preferred option. Next slide, please. So these next 2 slides just essentially show the locations that we've finally landed on. We went through a pre-consultation with MTO. Initially, we were looking at, for the south location, a little higher north, so it was above the Canal Road. You can see the little black crosshatched area. That was the initial proposal to MTO, but given some of the feedback we received from council in the feedback survey, where you requested it a little closer to the urban boundary, we have since moved that and petitioned MTO, who have given approval in principle to locate it in the green crosshatched area. So essentially it would take the place of what you see on the right panel where the Canal Road sign is. Next slide. So on the north location, we did a similar process. We provided a fairly large crosshatched area for consideration, shown in the black crosshatch there, and MTO said they were okay with that. Spectra has made a recommendation that we locate the sign almost in the middle of that crosshatched area based on access to the site. And the right-hand panel will show what it looks like from passers-by going southbound on Highway 400. Next slide, please. So this just basically summarizes what we came up with from the initial designs that was presented to council, along with some of the feedback that we received. So it's summarized, basically at the end of the day, option 4 was the preferred option, so the one to the far right, with a close second being option 1 on the left. Some of the other takeaways that we received was the highway readability. There were some concerns with it regarding option 4, as well as some of the wood beam elements. Council was questioning some of the durability and professionalism of utilizing that, as well as just the sizing and scale and massing of the sign. They wanted it optimized for 80 to 100 km/h viewing speeds. We've already talked about the location preferences, which we've addressed with MTO. So at the end of the day, option 1's layout and font sizing were well received, while option 4's branding and color palette were preferred. So we synthesized all of this information and provided it back to Spectra, who came up with these final 2 design options, which can be summarized essentially as, next slide please. Thank you. So option A is basically an enhancement of the preferred option, which had the blue backdrop. So it maintains the branding and the colors. They've increased the font size and changed the professional material, so there's no wood beams, and optimized everything for the 100 to 100 km/h speeds. So back.
Yeah, you got backwards.
No, but can you back up the slide? Yep, so I just, there you go. So the option A is just an enhanced option 4, while option B is essentially using option 1's layout and proportions, while integrating option 4's color palette, so the swoosh was incorporated. So option B basically has superior font sizing and adheres to the municipal standards. Now, in the interest of time, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just forward the presentation to the second last slide, where it just shows the 2 options that we are putting before council tonight. Keep going. Again, that's the one. And maybe with that, I will pass, and these are presented on the large format signs in front of you, as well as the spec sheets that are provided in front of you. And with that, I'll pass it over to Robert, and please ask any questions.
Yeah, we can open it up to questions. I think just one thing before we get to questions is looking at this slide right here, option B is a little bit more feasible through the winter construction construction, you know, getting the armor stone with the sleet and the snow is going to be harder to achieve Q1. So just keep that in mind. If timing's a major issue to get it done for Q1, then just keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Verkuyk?
Option B, what is the large panel made out of, and how long do we expect the paint, the blue, and the colors to last? Like, are they going to fade in 5 years or 50 years? Yeah.
So it's aluminum. It's 3 mil aluminum. We have a we use a paint in our facility called Matthews Paint. It's automotive paint, and we've had signs up for 10 years, and it hasn't faded. But saying that, with option B and A, to reface that panel would be a lot easier than refacing option A. Option A has pin-mounted letters. You'll see a bunch of holes. It'd be fading in the darker armor stone. Longevity and feasibility, option B would be the better way to go.
You kind of answered my question.
Yeah.
Would we, like, and rebranding, if we rebranded in 10 years, who knows what's going to, so you can just take that whole panel and put a new panel on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper?
Okay, that brought a little bit more thought to process based on those comments, but I don't like the south option when you're driving northbound. I thought we would. The only concern is that you say you have to put in footings and stuff like that in the marshlands. It's just, I don't know. I don't like the location there, obviously, but it was based on the survey. I just think it sticks out. Like it doesn't blend in that well. Then southbound, when you're driving southbound, that's my opinion. Hold on, you get your own second. My gosh, it's a survey. I'm okay. Like, I just think it sticks out. I mean, like, obviously, southbound option A looks, when you're driving southbound on the highway, option A looks better, it blends in. But now knowing those features with the cost and affordability, how much would it be for costing then to switch out the sign if we change branding or we need it to increase? That would be my only question.
You're talking option B, right?
Yeah, option B. I mean, like, now you just said it's easier and more feasible to build and swap out, but then what's that cost?
It depends what you put on it, how much bigger. If you're going to make the face bigger, I would say you're probably looking at around $15K, give or take. Yeah.
Hey, any other comments or questions?
Sorry, just to add
Go
to
ahead.
that, there'll be screws on the side of that. It'll be easy to take that face off. And then the letters are acrylic. Actually, the letters are going to be aluminum, so it's going to be easy. So you'll be able to slide it on and off. If you look at a shoebox, you put a shoebox together, that's kind of the way the assembly would be.
Okay, I have Councillor Ferragini and then the Mayor.
Thank you. I'm happy to see this finally come forward. Been talking about having a gateway signage for a long time. So it's great that we're finally here to make a decision. So I'd like to make a recommendation to put option B forward and move ahead with option B and get this thing done.
Okay, we have seconder for option B. Did you have a question or you just wanted to put an option on the floor? Okay, perfect. So we have option B on the floor for the recommendation. Any other comments or questions? You have a question? Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to reflectability, I know the aluminum paneling it's matted, right? But it does have a bit of reflective property to it. Whereas the other ones, the stone kind of absorbs the light, and then the aluminum lettering would pop. So maybe you can just explain about the MTO. Like, is this all fully reflective aluminum? So when with the paint and everything on it, is it like the MTO signs that kind of illuminate as the high beams and at nighttime drive by it?
So paint doesn't, I guess it does reflect, but we would put a reflective vinyl on the face of those letters. The depending on what MTO requirements are, to achieve that.
Okay, Councillor Dehaney.
So I do like them both, but I believe option A looked more modern. Option, again, it doesn't really matter to me. I will not lose any sleep over any one of them, right? So option B just look as if it's been there already, right? But option A just look more modern, and but B more look as if it's been there already. Nothing new to this. But again, I will not lose any sleep over any of them. So I'm good with either.
Thank you, Councillor Dehaney. Councillor Kike.
Yeah, I just wanted to, the south location, I think, is an excellent location because it just demonstrates that the marsh is in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. And I think that's very important that people know where we start. And yeah, it will stick out more there. And people will see it. You're entering Bradford, West Gwillimbury. And they'll see it before they see the Simcoe sign. So.
That's an excellent point. Just that point alone is worth it. Councillor Scott.
Well, I'll just comment briefly that option B, I think what you've done is married something that's clean and a little bit modern with something traditional, which is exactly what the slogan is. So as one of the advertising guys on council, I got to say, well done. This is a really good project to both of you and the entire team. And I think Councillor Ferragini said it earlier, but it bears repeating. This is finally going to put us on the 400 series highway to show where the town begins and ends. And it's a huge economic development marketing advantage, and thrilled to see it finally happening.
Okay, thank you. You know what, I must say that I'm okay with my colleagues selecting option B, but onto the comment that Councillor Dehaney made, when I'm looking at this, I see option A that's nicely done on stones, whereas from my eyes, when I look at option B, I see, hey, someone stuck 2x4s to some stones and put a sign up. But like Councillor Dehaney said, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Both signs look good. I just want a sign on that highway because we've been trying this for years and years and years. So if there's no other comments and questions, we have.
Well, if it makes you feel better, option B is going to be a cheaper long term to maintain.
There you go. So
there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So option B is moved, duly moved, and if there's no questions or comments, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, thank you. It's carried, and then main motion as amended. I have a mover and a seconder, right? Okay, all in favor? Perfect, carried. New business? None. Any announcements? None. Next meeting is October 28th at 6:30 p.m. Any agenda items, please email them to the clerk. And I just want to say thank you for being patient, and this is really a long meeting, but we got a lot done. So I really appreciate everyone taking the time to not rush it and getting the business done, the residents and the staff. Thank you, and the adjournment. That the meeting is hereby adjourned.